What's all the Omnifuss about then?
Hello. Sorry, I muted myself. I'll take it off. But here we are, another live, full rendition of what is all the Omnifuss about. This is rather last minute, rather impromptu. But that was courtesy of DC, who decided, well, not DC officially, but there's been a shit ton of books that have been rumored, leaked, whatever we want to call it. And I just thought this is a good chance as any of
agree.
getting live and discussing it. And of course, I am joined by Martin.
Even though.
And HighlandG joins us too.
Hey everyone.
And the reason, well, not the reason, he's happy to have these two guys on, of course, but I know for certain that Martin is very happy with some of these books. And I'm sure HighlandG is happy with some of these books as well. Not only the books themselves, but maybe indicates that DC are starting to up their game. You know, where you now have hope that the books you want, they're going to come out soon enough. And if you do hear some seagulls in the background, Stephen Seagull is a pet of HighlandG's. I think he hangs around the window. HighlandG must feed him or something. Is that right?
Oh, they're all over the place here, man. Honestly, it's worse than pigeons.
But yeah, that kind of prompted the need for this show. And the truth be told, we always enjoy the idea of doing these lives, and it's just getting around to doing it. But once we're here, we enjoy it. And I know HighlandG yourself, you used to do quite a lot of live shows. And I actually checked today on your channel. It was like almost a year ago since you'd done a live stream. That seems like...
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Maybe it was like 11 months.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of different things going on. I got really busy with work. I had some various sort of health things and stuff going on in that as well. And then I just got a little bit burnt out on things. So I think at various times I took a couple of months break kind of from the channel. From that, I've kind of worn through my entire backlog of videos that I had kind of lined up, and I've been kind of taking a bit of a fresher approach to things. So I've done a few videos more recently about sort of like key categories like Vertigo books or manga or stuff like that, but I haven't really got fully back into the sort of swing of things. I do want to do more lives though, and I am planning a live on Tuesday, I believe, with Kev to discuss his Kickstarter.
Nice.
Cool.
So the plan is to kind of have a bit of a discussion about that, and then hopefully do more lives going forward.
So yeah, Kev, as in Kwiz on Instagram, has a successfully funded Kickstarter. Martin, what's the name of the book? What's it called?
The Last Ein Hier.
I think that's it. The reason why I just don't think I do it justice by saying it.
The Last Ein Hier.
Sorry?
Have you practiced how to say the word of the name of the book?
Yeah, I would just say The Last Ein Hier. Yeah,
that's good. I just can't say it for some reason, but yeah. So successfully funded, and if you are going to Thought Bubble, he will also be on one of the stalls there in November. So if you've missed out on the Kickstarter, you may have some copies on that day. Who knows? But yeah, I'll be interested to watch that on. You said it was Tuesday.
Tuesday, yeah. The plan was just to, I say, kind of discuss the book, see what the Kickstarter's kind of at, if there's any planned stretch goals and stuff, and just generally have a chat.
Excellent. Listen, if anyone knows me, knows I like a little bit of not stardom. That's not the right word. Like limelight. Like I like to be put myself in certain positions. So I was always going to back Kevin's Kickstarter, but I waited until like it was like one step away from 800. Which was the goal, because I wanted to be the person who took it over.
Pushes it over.
But it turned out it wasn't. I was like £5 short. I hadn't realised. I was like, oh, for goodness sake. So someone else obviously got that glory. It wasn't me. So, but at least listen, he's made it. I think it's fantastic.
See, I was different. Where I hadn't bought any of his single issues, I felt obligated to be one of the first ones out the gate. So I went straight in on the everything package. So
nice. Yeah, I went for the graphic novel itself and the commission. So I'll be hitting Kev out at some point with something. Just don't know what yet. I'm going to challenge him though. I think I'm going to try and do something challenging. Did you get the commission too, G?
Yeah, I went for the graphic novel, the commission, and the 5th issue, because I don't have the 5th issue yet. So I want that to complete my set of sort of 5 single issues. And it'd be nice to be able to compare, because he said he'd redone some of the art for the 2nd issue, I think it was.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be slightly different in the trade than it'll be in the the sort of singles will be interesting to kind of see. But yeah, I've got a thought for an interesting commission for him that I actually tried to get someone to do over a year ago, but again, due to their own sort of health issues, they never really finished. So I was going to sort of give Kev that idea and the sort of sketch that I've got off the original person and see what he does with it.
Excellent. Just I know you had the chat there, Martin. So Steve is here, and Andy J. Clark, who was introduced to us via Kevin, actually, who also has his own indie book called Flux. So that was for my haul. I was going to show up this month, but there we go.
I need that myself.
Signed by Andrew J. Clark, and I had stickers and bookmarks came with it, but I think they're on my shelf currently. But yeah, just before we go into the dive into the DC stuff, I suppose, just kind of some points, but I want to kind of just go over and just in this week, I suppose I got the RDJ news where he's going to play Doctor Doom. What are your initial thoughts on that? Not really bothered, somewhat excited, or
it feels right, but it also feels wrong. I don't know. I think he's going to do it justice, but he's Iron Man. You know, that's why I've got a bit of a. I'll wait till the film comes out. I'll check it out and see what story they come up with and how they connect it and what timeline and stuff.
I think because it depends on where they're introducing him, right? But like I think because they're doing the sort of previous generation sort of Fantastic Four, they're basing it in like the 60s or something. That we can almost think of this as like a different universe. And from that perspective, I'm not thinking of him as like Tony Stark as Doctor Doom. I'm just thinking of him playing Doctor Doom. And they could do the complete opposite of what they did with Iron Man and keep him in mask the whole time and only like unmask him for like a reveal, if you like, rather than the other way around. But I think if they spend far too much time with him FaceTime, then you're just going to think of him as Tony Stark.
Yeah, I agree. He needs to have the mask on. But part of me also thinks the fact that, like, I don't want to be one of those guys that jumps to the MCU, but they haven't done well since Endgame. Really. Some stuff's been good, some stuff's not so good. But they, even in terms of money in, they haven't hit the heights of Infinity War and Endgame. And maybe they're thinking we need to do something different. But equally, the guy who was due to play Kang, I can't remember his name, but obviously I think he done something that was an attacker or something, but they almost had to like back to the drawing board. But we have very short space of time here to get the Avengers movie out. What can we do? And obviously must have a good relationship with RDJ and got him in kind of last minute, so to speak. So I physically shoehorned slightly. Like he obviously wasn't the initial plan. However, it may just work out for them.
Well, they're doubling down because you've got the Russos back on board.
This is true.
So, I think Marvel and Disney know that it's not at its hype. They know there's been problems. They know there's been issues. And I think this is why they're moving this way, because this is your final step to rectify the wrong course, So it sounds good. I like the idea of it. I am skeptical, but let's be honest, we as fans, we've always been skeptical. Look at Joker with Heath Ledger. Everyone was skeptical over him. Look at Robert Pattinson with Batman. People were skeptical over him. I think
I never had a problem with Pattinson Batman. I don't know why anyone did.
And Ben Affleck, Ben Affleck as well. Some people were funny with him over Daredevil, but wait till the movie comes out. I think that's what I'm going to sit back. I'm just going to ignore any of the major worry online and just see what's delivered.
Yeah.
I think it'll be interesting because you can go back to so much of their roots. You can pull back actors that done well before. You can pull back directors and stuff that done well before. But for me, the biggest thing that sold the Universal's first 2 or 3 films was their comic accuracy, was their absolute, like mic drop kind of like moments. And I think that's what they're going to find hard to pull back because they've moved so far on in the story now that they've passed a lot of those moments comic-wise that they can reference. So they're going to have to come up with these moments themselves, and that's going to be a little bit more difficult.
I somewhat agree. I do kind of think that it's not that they've run out of material. I think the Infinity Gauntlet probably is one of the biggest, grandest stories within Marvel history in general. But they've done so much with the characters. Obviously, like Iron Man's essentially, he's dead. Captain America he's given up. They've gone so far past a certain point, like they can't really go back and use.
Well, it's even the introduction of like the characters like Ironheart takes us to present day. Having Sam Wilson as Captain America takes us to present day. So there's not many comics for them to reference now.
Yeah, I agree.
Unless they start, doing the timeline in a different order.
And this is the thing too. Well, I want to talk about Deadpool Wolverine. So any guys in the chat haven't seen it yet, we'll get that as well. But one thing I'm really disliking about Marvel in general in the movies, their use of the is it the TVA? The what's it called? The time?
Yeah, TVA.
It's just like I feel like we've had it. It was fine in Loki, and I understand they're trying to correct things almost, but like, can we move on from it now? Don't have everything, these portals appear, and even Doctor Strange to the extent. It seems like an easy get out.
Having not watched much Disney Plus, I didn't even know what they were. It's the first time I'd seen them.
I don't think they're going to steal away. I was like,
who are these random agents?
I think the TVA is the main thing they're going to use to rectify where it's gone. It's going to be the leverage to move it back on course.
Well, that's kind of what they refer. Well, I know again, move on the Deadpool Wolverine. Essentially, what happened is that they alluded to Deadpool being important to the timeline, essentially, and that tells me they're still going to use it at some point. But I just don't want it to be like a quick, easy get out, or like an easy way to tell a story that doesn't make sense. Just look at the TVA in, new portal, new dimension, or new timeline, whatever. Just give us one timeline. And I'm a simple person, like a simple way.
Well, it seemed like they're definitely going to use this for the next like Avengers or next big event, because it felt like we were told that Deadpool was going to go on one journey at the start of the film, and then he's given but this'll happen, and then he goes to fix the but this'll happen. So the original thing he never actually did. Mm-hmm. So I feel like we need that movie. We need that movie where he goes and fixes that, which is going to be the next Avengers big thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's true or not, but I did hear that Doctor Doom his goal is to try and merge the multiverses to basically make one prime universe.
Well, that's the other thing too, because Fantastic Four, if it is going to be set with Doom in that kind of timeline, it's going to be set in the 60s, possibly an alternate version of New York. So again, Doctor Doom could be the person, like the bridge to kind of connect it all to kind of modern day Marvel. Possibly. I mean, we said don't want the TVA.
If he died doing it or something, then that would be a big payoff in a short time rather than dragging out Doom's story.
Multiple movies.
But then, would you not want Doom to appear more often?
I would, but not
like a different, a different,
Yeah, I don't know. Well, either that Doom would have to die in the fixing, and then we get like an alternate Doom in the fixed universe, or he would have to die altogether. But I feel like part of why Robert Downey Jr. left in the first place was because he was aging out and didn't want to long-term commit to Marvel. Mm-hmm. So he's not going to want to commit to 5 films of Doom. So 1 or 2, and let's have a big ending,
I'm hoping it's going to eventually lead to Galactus. This is what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, well, Galactus has been announced that they've got the guy playing Galactus, but I don't know what role, I suppose, really. But same thing with Galactus. If you're doing it, you have to have the Silver Surfer at some point. And I'm a big fan of the Silver Surfer. Once again, you don't. It's not that difficult to cast the Silver Surfer, because the guy, Lawrence Fishburne, voiced him in the old movies back in the early 2000s, and he was really good. Just some of a good grand voice, and that's it. You have someone as a good actor, because it's a silver man at the end of the day, You
just got to find someone that's got the right sort of body shape and facial structure that you can put over it.
I just think they've got to remember, while they're going grander and grander with these kind of things, that they still need to keep the kind of street level stories and stuff as well, and not necessarily just focus on building a massive explosion to universe.
Yeah, well, they've got Daredevil coming, haven't they? And I heard rumors that we're going to bring back Jessica Jones. and I don't know if you ever watched them on Netflix. And what was the other one?
Luke
Iron
Cage.
Fist and Luke Cage, which I
It's
loved.
supposed to be a Blade movie at some point as well.
Well, sure, you've seen there was a joke. There was a joke. Like, by the way, Martin hasn't seen Deadpool Wolverine, but he's been more of a spoilers. But there was a joke within Deadpool Wolverine where they referred to Blade being the one and only Blade. It's like, and they looked at the cameras and say, "Get your shit together, please, Marvel." Let me just jump in the chat because if I lose track, I'm not very good at keeping up. Andre, i.e. the Bat Stash is here. If you don't follow him on Instagram, please do, because his videos, his reels are hilarious. There's one today. Was it today or yesterday? It was like, imagine you lagged in real life and he's trying to sit down in the seat to read a book, but every time he would sit down, he like beam somewhere else or something. It's just hilarious. And Steve's kind of, I think we're along the lines, very similar. He's not a fan, but we'll end up watching them. It's the thing, even we're not fans, we will end up watching, and hopefully they'll surprise us. Andy, Ethan Phil is good to catch another stream. He watched Deadpool today and wasn't sure about it if would pull off, but it was very enjoyable and was done well. Recommend if you're on the fence. And this thing I found with Deadpool Wolverine, the plot means nothing. I think it was more along the lines of this got Deadpool, Wolverine, Ryan Reynolds, and Hugh Jackman together, do all the funny jokes, have a few other introductions of different Deadpools and all the rest of it. And like I didn't follow it for the plot. I wasn't interested in the plot. I was just quite enjoying the ride it took us on.
Same as reading a Deadpool book, innit?
Exactly. I don't read much Deadpool, but yeah. And Andy's also saying that the Marvel multiverse is so tiring these days and is the plot for so much content from them. I'm a Phil, just make it more simple and grounded. It's just like I say, if you have too many different timelines and try to piece it all together, and then I understand using it to make things make sense a little bit, but sometimes it just doesn't. Chris from Off My Shelves, welcome, Chris. Doctor Doom being integral to Hickman's Secret Wars, and that was culminating in incursions and universes being destroyed, is going to be as much a part of the original Secret Wars, I think, far more Hickman-y. I prefer the Hickman Secret Wars story to the original one. Sacrilege, I know, I'm sure some people, but I thought Hickman's Secret War book was. We read that for the Nerd Herd, didn't we, Martin? Were you there that time?
No, before my time, mate.
Was it before your time?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
It was far better than the original. And Alad. And Alad is in our Discord. Follow us on Instagram for the code for it. But he was the one who prompted me almost to do this live stream, because he's constantly putting up the updates from the DC solicits and stuff. So yeah. So thank you, Alad, for making me do this, I suppose. Yeah, so Martin, go see Deadpool Wolverine. That's
I know what's happened in it. I know
but
all the spoilers.
Just
I need to go watch it.
Yeah, it's just
I need
like,
to go watch it.
I mean, if you know, you know. But I've now been listening to that NSYNC song for about a week now from the opening scene. I'm sure HighlandG you're aware. It's just stupid but funny. It's just really good.
There's just so many references to everything. I mean, like, even like taking people out of the equation, just like references to everything, like, you know, companies, comic covers, like so much everywhere that, like, I was sitting there just like nostalgia, like Easter egg picking the whole way through the movie, being like, look at this. My girlfriend was telling me shut up. like
yeah, that's the thing. Like, yeah, it is that, but like DC, fell victim a couple of times of some of the jokes. Marvel themselves, Disney themselves, some characters, like even I think RDJ was poked fun at some point, as was Thor, Captain America as well, of course. It's just it's good fun, and it's it's breaking records currently, and it's probably the highest earning Marvel movie since Endgame. I haven't got the record to prove that, but I'm just going to assume it is. So yeah, Martin, give them a few more quid. Just buy a couple of tickets.
Yeah. I'll convince the wife to want to go.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's the one of the points I wanted to bring up. Sorry, San Diego Comic Con was obviously done with RDJ, but I was a bit disappointed with San Diego for some reason. I think what else did we get? We got the DC logo, didn't we? The logo they're going to use going forward.
Yeah,
like a throwback to the original one, or
it's throwback to one that was retired, wasn't it? which is nice because I think it was quite popular. The bullet sort
the
of.
bullet, and the 4 stars and so forth. But
it just reminds me of Converse. It just looks old. Like as somebody
you've said that, you're right. It is like the Converse.
As somebody who's read DC roughly, ongoing since about New 52, like they feel like a modern thing to me in a way, and like I feel strange about them branding it with this oldie style kind of thing. But I get it. Like a lot of people love that logo, so it's a nostalgia thing.
It's one of those things that every time they change it, and they do change it quite often, to be honest.
DC change up a lot, yeah.
It's like you're never going to please it because people like the old one, don't like the new one, and then people like this new one, and then if you change it again, they I prefer this one.
I've got some books that between 5 trades, they've got 3 different logos.
Different logos, yeah.
Like it's crazy.
That's the only part that bothers me when I look at it on my shelf and you've got different logos. That's the irritating bit, especially when it's a new book. When you get new books and you get a run and then they change the logo and it changes halfway through.
I don't mind so much if it goes from Vertigo to Black Label, but if it's Black Label in 2 different logos, what are you doing?
Yeah, I agree. But again, the people always moan about whatever logo they use, but listen, I enjoy a good whinge, a good moan about stuff. Guardians 3, which I actually forgot about, which is actually excellent MCU movie.
It was, yeah.
Would have earned more than Deadpool. It may have done just because it's we're only still in the first week, I suppose. I mean, this is the second weekend for Deadpool, so you'll get another hit in it. Revenue.
I think they said they deliberately made Deadpool under 2 hours so they could get more showings, and if they charge the same, that's how they make more money.
There we go. But yeah, I've only seen it once so far. I'll go see it again. I will, definitely. So they'll get more money from me. And Andy is saying there's nothing worse than a series of mismatched spines. 100%. Like the people who collected the Silver Age, Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, X-Men. I remember they changed the font size on those spines.
On the Marvel spines they made the text
Marvel,
or something with a little picture. Yeah.
And it annoyed me to an extent. I had one book with the larger font, but I just got a guy, Roy, on Instagram to do me a dust jacket print. I got it printed for £7 or something. It's no big deal now to me, but I understand people just, you want your spines to look nice.
But a bigger issue if it wasn't a book that had a dust jacket.
Oh yeah,
because then you'd have to get dust jackets for your whole set of books.
Oh yeah, you would have to. There's a guy on YouTube. Is it the Bad Wolf Comics? Do you ever watch that guy? Bad Wolf Comics.
Yeah, I've seen him before.
I'm pretty certain he gets stuff printed for his hardcovers, hardcovers that come with no spines, and he prints out a dust jacket for it.
Did it for Hellboy, I think, didn't he? The library editions.
There's something else he's done it for recently.
I've seen people do slip jackets, things for trades as well to make it look like an absolute.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, but again, the problems us collectors have to go through. If that's the worst of our worries, we're doing well. Okay, well then we're just going to dive into it. As I say, we've got a lot of books to go through, and I did make up slides. Now, I'm not the most what's the word creative. I'm not meticulous in terms of my planning or whatever. So this is just kind of thrown together, a copy and paste job. So any criticism, and I can always see a clash of colors and all the rest of it. But it is what it is. You're getting this. This is the spreadsheet. So we're just going to go through some of the books, have a bit more detail than others, just because they're the ones we're more excited about. And I know, Jay, this is one. I think, did you say that this is it's a pre-order for you? Is that right?
Yeah. For me, this and Supergirl are one of the biggest things that got me into those characters in New 52. I'd just come from Marvel. I was, I'd read all the sort of Captain America, X-23 stuff, the sort of mainstay kind of bits and pieces that were kind of going around at the time. I think it's Marvel now. And then I just sort of started reading New 52, and I was trying all the Batman books because, it was kind of a given that they were all kind of good and kind of tied into each other. And then I would just randomly try trades in my local kind of comic shop because you could get a 3 for 2. So I'd buy a trade of Red Lanterns, a trade of Supergirl, trade of, there was complete random stuff like Superman of China and all these sorts of random different things. These 2 books tied in together, and they were both, if you think about them as sort of like side characters, it not being Superman and not being the Green Lanterns. I was just amazed by both the runs overall and how well they were sort of told. So yeah, I'll be pre-ordering both of these upgrades straight away.
It says Farius is in like the creator team. Who would be the main like writer on this? Do you know?
No,
that's right. It's just because I was going through this earlier on. It's a lot of these guys say Farius, and like, so that kind of make me not want to jump on until I kind of know who's on it.
Well, Peter Milligan started the run. Peter Milligan's still on it around issue 16 because he goes up to 40. Charles Soule takes over at some point. Just jumping through.
I think
there's about 3 or 4 maybe 4 writers that take over, but this is quite a popular run, to be fair.
Yeah, I think the main start is done by sort of one person, and then it goes into the whole sort of like Red Daughter crossover sort of bit where I think Charles Soule comes in, and then there might be some other sort of writers involved in it kind of along the lines, but it doesn't read like it's 4 or 5 separate things. Like it reads kind of quite consistently as an overall kind of thing. Have you read it, either of you? Do you know them?
No, I've been trying to hunt down the trades for this, but it's like trying to find gold dust, and now I can stop. So yeah. I know this is coming, so I'll wait for
the main thing from this run for me is it's a sort of Guy Gardner story.
Yes.
And he basically goes back to the Red Lanterns in order to basically calm things down and sort of try and get them to sort of fall in line a little bit and stuff. There's a few other things he's sort of asked to do and to sort of like take on. And I just remember like a key sort of section that was speaking to, I think it's Hal, and they agree that he's going to go and do this, and that obviously when you become a Red Lantern, like it's difficult to come back from that and all these sorts of things. And he's like, so if I do this kind of thing, like I want my own sector. And then Hal's like, yeah, okay. And then it gets to the sort of tail end of the story, and he goes back to Hal, and he's like, right, I want my own sector. And Hal's like, okay, so you can have this sector, that sector, whatever sector. And he's like, no. You agreed. I get my sector, Earth. and I just love the balls on him, like that overall kind of like thing of that character. There's a lot of in betweens with Supergirl and stuff. I'm not going to get into ins and outs of the thing, but like
the thing that throws me.
Guy Gardner story,
The thing that throws me about this listing is we're missing issue 28. I've quickly had a little check, and by the look of it, it is listed on League of Comic Book Geeks as in this omnibus, but it's also in the Supergirl one. So by the sounds, if it does cross over, by the sounds of it, the store you're going to need both to get the full complete.
Well, HighlandG's definitely getting both, that's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I'll get both anyway, but yeah, it's basically sort of like one trade of sort of like crossover where Supergirl comes into the Red Lantern story as opposed to being the other way around.
That's the Red Daughter art, isn't it?
Yeah.
This book is also adapted for Aled, and he needs that Sinestro Omni next. I think that was listed as well. And I mean, he's impressed that he made slides. No joke, I'm not the best when it comes to technology, and this took me about 2 hours to make because I couldn't get the pictures to save. But sure, whatever. God loves a trier and all. But yeah, this is one that I probably won't get because I know very little about Green Lantern, let alone, Sinestro and the Red Lanterns and all the rest of it. So it's something I'll pass on, but I know if I was to get into Green Lantern more and Guy Gardner, this would probably be on my list. But what I kind of noticed with over the years, even not even just for this kind of batch, but for all the crap that the new 52 gets, they have an awful lot of omnibuses, like a lot of the runs, like not only just Batman, Superman, but obviously the Green Lanterns, Flash, all the kind of main characters, but even like also see later on some of the ones that you would never think would get an omnibus, and like the Swamp Thing and all too, so quite a lot of New 52 stuff has been printed already, with some more to go. So it can't be all bad, surely.
I don't think a lot of it's that it's bad. It's more that it's a change from what people knew. I mean, if you're following your character for a long period of time, then that is your religion, if you like. And if somebody then all of a sudden changes the basis of the religion, then you're not going to be very happy about it. So like I think people who came in at New 52 like love this stuff. I think, you know, as I say, like there's so many books that are like almost like action movies, kind of like the way they're told, and they're great stories. But I don't know if you were following the previous stuff, if you would enjoy it as much. Like, to give you an example, for me, like I'm a big Wally West fan, so the sort of Man-Pole Flash stuff with the reboot of Barry Allen to me was very boring. Like, I didn't think it was anything special. But if somebody
Barry Allen
didn't
is
want,
boring.
well,
Sorry,
but people
Martin.
didn't, you know. Whereas I think
It's all good.
other people who maybe hadn't read any Wally West stuff and watching the CW show, then starts reading that and it corresponds with what they've been watching in the show, then, you know, they're going to love that book, right? So it's different things for different audiences, and I think there's a lot of loud minorities that maybe want their thing, and like I'm right there with them on certain things, but that doesn't stop there being things for other people.
No, that's fair. Like I say, it's just, you know, it's they obviously made New 52 to get new readers into it. It's worked for them. I'm one of them, I suppose. Really, I wasn't reading stuff before New 52. I obviously have since read stuff prior to that, but I wouldn't be following one character for so many years to kind of to feel that change as much, I suppose. But
yeah, I mean, I started around New 52, Marvel Now. That sort of rough period was when I got properly back into comics, and it was because both of them basically started at one again. It was an easy way to jump on.
Yeah. One thing which I think this was just prior to New 52 was Greg Rucka's run on Wonder Woman. I'm getting this because it has the Hecate #1, but I'm assuming it must have the full story somewhere in there.
Yeah, it will because the Hecate pretty much kicked off Greg Rucka's original run, because this is his. I'm assuming this is his first run when Hecate was, because he came back and did Rebirth, didn't he? So yeah, this is the first. This is one that a lot of people have been asking for a very, very long time. I'm so pleased because this is going to fill a massive gap in my collection. Because
I think they had big trades with them for a while, but yeah, they haven't had an omnibus.
Yeah, Wonder Woman's a character that I love and I collect pretty much everything of. So this is a massive, especially it's volume 1. I'm so pleased we're actually going to get a full set. I'm hoping we're going to get a quick turnaround, the same as we did with the John's Flash omnibuses, where they just kept releasing them. So fingers crossed.
We should just say as well that a lot of these are obviously scheduled for 2025. There's multiple within each month, it seems, anyway. And I don't think these are official solicitations. They're more. Did they come from Random House? Is that where they come from?
Yeah, it's in the catalogue. I think then it moves into the solicitations. Yeah, and then when it's solicited, you know it's guaranteed. But this has hit the catalogue, so it's, you know, the fact that there's actual content's been put out there, it's spoken about, it's discussed, it's on the cards.
It's on the cards. Just
I mean, someone spent the time to make the cover, so
yeah, that's what I'm saying. But don't be taking that release date, you know, as if it's definitely coming next May, because you just don't know until it's on the DC Connect magazine every month.
Oh no, because one I'm still waiting for that's actually been, I think, solicited and then sort of like cancelled several times is the New Teen Titans Omnibus 6 to finish off the set. That's now scheduled for January, I believe, but like, who knows?
There's also another book that we will be covering tonight that has been in the solicitations and it has been put back and it is coming back out, so we will cover it. We'll touch on it when it gets there.
Well, this Wonder Woman's definitely going to go on my pre-order list. I'm be picking that one up for sure. Jay, yourself?
I don't follow Wonder Woman quite so much. I've read some of the sort of more modern stuff. So I read the New 52 omnibus, and I've had those books, and then I read the Gail Simone stuff, and I had all the bits and pieces around that. But since then, I've kind of sold most of that off. So I think the only Wonder Woman stuff I have just now is it Odyssey? I think it is, where she's got the long trousers.
Yep.
What year was that? Is that Rebirth or
trade short?
No, it's pre. Odyssey's pre. I think Odyssey's at the end of Gail Simone's run, isn't it?
Oh.
Remember rightly?
Yeah.
It comes right at the
she
back
basically
end.
Looks kind of like Wonder Woman did in the sort of pilot movie that did ages ago, which has got like the long black trousers, a sort of red corset, and like a blue jacket.
Yeah, if I remember rightly, Gail Simone takes it out to issue 600, and then it goes into Odyssey to wrap up that run before we go into New 52.
Yeah. But so you could treat it as its own little separate thing, and that's why I've still got that. But I'm not. die-hard like Wonder Woman fan as far as the stories. I love the character. I've got a awesome Frank Cho figurine, but like statue. But yeah, probably not picking this up.
That's fair. One thing I'm not picking this up, but one thing I do want to build up is my absolute collection. I only have a few. I'm not picking this one up. This is Batman Zero Year because I have the 2 omnibuses from Snyder, so I have it in a large format. But I know there's people like Steve, for example. He posted his absolute collection today up on his Instagram, and he would probably likely get this one. But this is Zero Year.
I think it's nice they're actually releasing Snyder's run in absolute, and they're being consistent. So this is the next chapter for it, and I hope they do see it through to the end. Because it'd be nice for people that like that bigger format. Because let's be honest, it's Greg Capullo artwork, so it's beautiful artwork. So it does deserve the absolute treatment. So for people that maybe want to move their Omnis on for that bigger artwork, this is fantastic. Personally, I'm happy with the omnibuses, but for your absolute diehards, this is a definite pickup.
I'm really eager to have a read again of the Snyder stuff, because even like I can barely remember a lot of details other than the first like couple stories of the Isles. After that, I can't really remember too much about Snyder's run, so I need to remind myself and reread them.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first main 2 arcs, like the Court of Owls stuff and the Death of the Family stuff, is kind of like the 2 biggest, the main kind of like hard hitter kind of arcs within it. And in absolute, I would have liked them to have had all the tie-ins. They seem to not want to do that with the Scott Snyder book, but that's how I prefer to read it. But yeah, I think for me, those were the 2. Like Scott Snyder's really good. I've said this a few times on things, but Scott Snyder is great at starting runs. He hits the ground running, but he sometimes just loses his way as he's going.
Yeah, but even just like whenever his initial run on Batman ended, I think there was like another random.
He just didn't want to stop. He just
didn't want to stop. He kept going, and then he then jumped into metal.
Didn't he do
and then
The Last Night on Earth?
The Last
mini
Night,
series,
that's the one. Yeah, that's one he could. And that was with Greg Capullo too. And
then he claimed Death Metal was a Wonder Woman story, but it's still Batman.
Yeah, 100%.
Like,
yeah, I agree. He couldn't let go. He couldn't finish it, and just that's it. I'm done. But yeah, no, like some absolute fans will be absolutely happy with this. But there we go. But I'm definitely
slipcase come up the way. By the way, just looking at that, is that like a plastic slipcase that goes up the way?
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't think
acetate cover sort of thing.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It kind of reminds me of the Joker book when they had the Joker hardcover. If you took the plastic acetate off it, you could see the like the face without the skin.
Death of the Family part. Yeah, I know what you mean. Possibly. I'm definitely getting this absolute, because I've read this story. I quite like this story, but they had like the omnibus, which it was a big, massive, thick thing. Which I've
got it. Yeah. Don't drop it on your foot.
Yeah, I didn't want to get that because tie-in wise, I wouldn't be that fussed. But in terms of getting like the main kind of story, I suppose, here it is. So I'll be happy enough for this, and not need to worry about the other thing too. The omnibus was never cheap. Do you know, like in all these sites that we go to that have like reduced prices, and you think that's a good deal. You're getting a good book for that price.
I actually did all right. I think I got it in the 60s.
Oh, did you? Well,
yeah.
I couldn't see it cheaper than the 80s. It was always in around 80 or 90. I just want them to part with that kind of money for a book that wasn't overly sure about with all the tie-ins and stuff. Do you have the omnibus, G?
No, I'm not a big Superman kind of follower. I've read I like Super Sons, and I enjoyed the Superman run that kind of went along with that. But yeah, I mean, I watched Superman TV shows more than I would read the books.
Yeah. I do find it hard to get into Superman stories, but there are a couple, and there's a couple in here tonight which do excite me. Far Sector, the deluxe edition. And I read this, and I have it in trade paperback, which I actually really enjoyed the story, but it's just literally issues 1 to 12. So here we have a few extra things. There's the Green Lantern 80th anniversary, 100-page super spectacular. Don't know if it's the whole thing or just part of it. DC Pride #1, DC Power Celebration, and DC Power 24 #1. Again, I don't know how they tie in. I'm assuming. What is her name? What's
I actually don't know. I've never read this story, and it's one that Scott spoke very highly of it,
Yeah.
and he told me about it, and I'm like, oh, I should give this a try, and I've held
Oh,
off,
sure it is.
and now this is coming out. I'm like, yes, I'll buy this now.
It's essentially like, well, Green Lantern. They're detectives. They're trying to solve a murder, but it was actually quite interestingly done. I can't remember her name, but I'm assuming she must appear in these one shots, and that's why they're putting this into
I would have
this
thought so.
deluxe edition. But yeah, so I'd recommend it for anyone who's even partially a Green Lantern fan. This is one to check out. Forever Evil. I need to look into this because this is part of the Justice League New 52 event. No, it was part of.
You're right.
Yeah,
You're right.
part of.
Yeah.
So I have it in single issues. I actually think I have the standard size hardcover of the main Forever Evil series. So I'm not fussed. I don't know if I want the tie-ins. Basically, I don't know if I want to do it.
See, this is the thing. When you read what's collected in here, we've already got a Justice League Dark Omnibus. We've already got a Justice League Omnibus. So we're double dipping there. I'm looking at this list. I'm looking at things like Trinity of Sin, Constantine, Phantom Stranger. I've got the trades. So am I really double dipping like 90% here with just a couple of things? I don't know. I might get it because it's DC. I'll just have it as in my event area. But I don't know.
Is the Forever Evil event included in any of those other omnibus?
I'm not sure. Not without double checking. Let's just double check.
That's what I'm saying. I have the standard hardcover for Forever Evil 1 to 7, as well as the single issues.
Because if you've got the standard hardcover, or if say it was included in the Justice League Dark Omnibus, then you wouldn't need the.
You wouldn't need this, and this is going to be one of the big boys too. I'd imagine.
Because Justice League Dark one's a massive omnibus in itself.
Yeah. So
I'm just checking where I usually go to for bits and pieces, and by the look of it, I've just checked issue 1. And it's in the Justice League Omnibus, and it's in the Forever Evil Omnibus, so we could potentially have it all in the Justice League.
I feel like this is one for me to pass on, at least. By the sounds of things, maybe don't think you two would be too interested in this.
1 to 7?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in the Justice League Volume 1 Omnibus. Oh, no, Volume 2, sorry. Volume 2 Omnibus.
Yeah, so see, I feel like this again is a case of, are you a massive fan of this event, or are you reading a particular series ongoing? Because if you're buying, say, all the Justice League ones anyway, then you don't need this as a separate event. You just need the bits that are relevant to the Justice League. Whereas if you're really a big fan of this event, this is the event that got you into comics or something, and you've read all the books that kind of tanned out of this, then maybe you do want this as a double dip because you want to be able to read it all together as an event.
I agree. Just get up some comments here. Andy saying he loved the New 52. It's what got him back into reading hero comics. The only issue was how intertwined it all was. Was reading one trade paperback that midway was impacted by a series I wasn't reading. Confusing. I think I found that with even if you were reading the Court of Owls saga, that you were having like on Batgirl or something, those would have been impacted. Of course, the Death of Family too. It was every issue 13 was impacted across the board, wasn't it? In many titles, I think.
I think this is where Omnis are a good move, because I think with Omnis you do get those issues in that crosses over, so it does make it a good reading experience. But I do agree, you're reading single issues or reading trades, it's a tough sort of move when you sort of read the ending up. Well, actually, you got to read this issue. I haven't got that trade. Right, I can't carry on.
You tend to also only get the sort of mainstay issues. So say, for instance, you buy a Batgirl omnibus and there's a Batman event, you'll get the Batman issues, but you won't get, say, Catwoman or Nightwing. So you're still going to miss bits of that story. And this is what I was saying to you guys before we went live, was like when I was reading New 52, I was reading 90% of the trades. Like I was flooded in it. And at that point, I got to experience the whole universe, and I didn't ever feel any gaps, because if anything, I was reading the same story twice in some books to actually kind of get through it all. And that's where, when I've now went back and read a omnibus or something, and I'm reading, say, Batgirl, and I'm like, but wait, what's Nightwing doing? It's missing from the story, because I'm now after the fact kind of experiencing those little lulls here and there. Because they did intertwine a lot, especially within the families. If it was like the Justice League family of books or the Bat family of books, they were crossing over left and right.
They must just be copying Marvel because Marvel intertwine everybody. So it's just take on leaf out of Marvel's book. Steve is saying he's getting an absolute. I'm assuming it's 0 year he's talking about it. He's got it in trades, omnis, and we'll still get this.
As a Batman fan for you there, I know Steve loves his Batman, so I'm not surprised at all you got all those, buddy.
Yeah, and I would have sent Forever Evil, too much double dipping for him. Constantine issue also in Justice League Dark, as are some of the Trinity of Sin issues. That's the thing. It's just the event books are hard to say. I'll definitely pick them up because there's a lot of double dipping. Like say, if you're going over multiple titles, what can you do? But I know, Martin, I think you probably will get this just because you have the DC event books.
Let's see what happens.
Right. This is one I'm not interested in. I'm quite loving the Flash these days. It's the Flash by Grant Morrison and Mark Miller, which I didn't know they worked together.
This is the book I was referencing earlier that had been moved back in the catalogue. I will be getting this because this is the bridge between Mark Waid and Jeff Johns. So the fact we got a deluxe edition, omni-size, right in the middle of those two books when we finally wrap up Mark Waid's run.
I think it's actually in the middle of Wade's run.
Is it? But doesn't it bridges between?
I think there'll be two Wade omnibuses, and this goes between the two Wade omnibuses.
There's only one Wade omnibus so far, isn't there?
But there will be a second one. If you look at the trade paperbacks like they've done for Nightwing, and there's like 8 trade paperbacks of Nightwing of that era. If you look at the Flash ones, there's like 3 or 4 of Wade, then 1 or 2 of Grant Morrison, and then another 2 or 3 of Wade.
So it might have to fit between the second.
We'll have to go between these two omnibus. Yeah,
that's all right.
Because I was looking at this and I was looking at the omnibus and I was like, are they going to include it in the omnibus as one run, as we were saying before, or are they going to be picky and separate these writers, like they've done with the trades? And it looks like they're separating writers.
Because I've got the trade for this purely for the gap, but now we're getting in a deluxe. I'll upgrade them.
But so the way I picture it is that there'll be the 2 or 3. I forget who's doing the earlier Flash run omnibuses. There'll be 1 Wade, then this hardcover, then the second Wade, then the 3 Jeff Johns, and that'll be the set.
If I remember rightly, this is the Black Flash story arc. Morrison's run.
Guys, I'm not a DC guy, so I'm relying on your knowledge.
This is Black Flash. Yeah, Black.
It goes
Flash.
through a lot of costumes in the Wade run anyway. So
Steve's asking, didn't Wade and Morrison swap JLA and Flash at this point for a couple of issues? Did they?
That might be what happened, but it was definitely mid his run. It wasn't between two people's runs. Because I noticed it when you buy the trades. It's kind of one of those things you notice on your shelf when you've got the set of them. It's like, why is that random one got a different name on it?
Well, that's cool because we got a filler, which don't usually happen. To be fair, I think Flash is definitely the most. They honour the Flash the most because Flash seems to get so much stuff. I'm not complaining, but all the omnis and the filler.
Definitely a more recent thing because I complained when they brought out the new, not New 52, the Gail Simone. Omnibus for Wonder Woman that they were missing the start of that run because it was by different writers, and about 6 months later they've done deluxe hardcovers of those writers and filled in the gap. So I think they are slowly noticing that people actually want the complete run,
but it's still missing a couple of issues. That Wonder Woman, there's still a couple because they changed the writer again after the first 4 issues. So we're missing.
As long as you get the main arc. Like, if you miss that arc as a whole, you really are missing the start of the story.
But still, this is definitely on mine. I'll be pre-ordering this, 100%.
To be fair, the earliest run of Flash I have, and actually bought them off Andy, was the Jeff Johns stuff. So I don't know how I would go prior to that, because Jeff Johns is New 52, am I right?
No.
No,
pre-New 52,
but he carries on as New 52, doesn't he?
He basically starts New 52. His flashpoint is what starts New 52.
And who takes over from New 52?
Manipole and
that's the reboot when Wally's gone, basically.
The earliest Flash I own, I got this week. The new Flash, well, the old Flash. This
yeah,
goes
but
back to the very start.
Well,
Issue
sure,
1 was it William Mesler and Loeb's run. So
Yeah,
long
see, I'm still
start
not
of
sure if
volume
I want to
2.
go that far back. I'm going to get the Wade
Yeah.
ones because I've had them in trades, and I know the Wade run, and I know the Jeff Johns run mostly. I've read through that recently, but I'm not sure if I want to go back to the very start of. Just because I know that Wade and Jeff Johns were so crucial in adding a lot of the sort of things in, like talking about like the Speed Force and the other things that make the Flash quite interesting. Like when you go far enough back in the Flash, it's just a guy running in a red suit. So I'm not sure how much I'll enjoy that as much.
It's
Yeah,
the
'cause
same as what I said to you beforehand. I'm in for the good, the bad, and the ugly. I've even got
Yeah.
the Silver Age, the 3 Silver Age omnibuses, so I'm going back pretty much.
Oh, so you're doing the whole Flash like Scott's Red.
Yeah.
that's what I was going to say. So Scott done that, and fair play. But whenever you described it, there was definitely times where, like, I can imagine it being painful to get through. Like, you need to take a break and go do something else, and the desire to come back to the Flash every time would be quite tough. I agree. I don't. I wouldn't. I have found it hard to go back, especially because there's so much of the Flash.
Yeah.
Let's say something like Venom, for example. I can go back and the start of Venom. That was easy enough. There's not that many Venom.
I must say, I love
Brothers,
that sort of pre-New 52 era, having kind of worked my way backwards into a lot of it with
Yeah.
DC, because when you look at like Birds of Prey and the various Batgirl stories that were there, Nightwing, Wally West, Flash, like they're all just really, really good stories. So like I don't mind expanding out within that kind of era a bit more and like reading more because it's an exciting time within sort of DC Comics. But I think before that era, things were maybe a little bit drier. They didn't have as many like powers and things, or things weren't as excitingly on the page. So I don't know.
Certain characters I'm willing to really go far back, but there's only a few. I do have a cut-off point. I do, with majority of characters, I'd sort of from 80s or 86 onwards is where I aim. Like with Batman, I don't touch anything Golden Age, Silver Age Batman. As soon as Frank Miller starts off, that's when I start Batman. So Batman Year One, that's where that kicks off for me. And it's a lot the same with the others. Look at Wonder Woman. I love Wonder Woman, but I don't just know Golden Age. It's from George Perez's run. That's where I start Wonder Woman.
Batman starts with Nightwing for me. Before Nightwing, I don't really read Robin stories with Batman. Like it starts when Dick Grayson became Nightwing. That's kind of like the main era.
When was that? Who's run? When did he stop becoming?
I don't know what year it was. Chuck Dixon wrote that Nightwing.
So you're talking what? 90s?
Well, 90s is whenever Jason Todd.
So you're talking like the Batman stuff at that time would have been stuff like Murder Fugitive, War Games.
Yeah. War Games.
Just getting you an answer now. If you're going from Chuck Dixon's run, you're looking 96, but there was a Nightwing run in 95, a 4-issue mini. So yeah, 95.
Okay. Moving on to Batman. Here is James Tynion. His omnibus, and it's not an easy one in terms of like it's just like Batman wouldn't or whatever. It's like there's a whole bunch of stuff in there, which I don't remember him being on Red Hood. Vaguely remember him doing Nightwing in between. Who done the Rick Grayson story? Who was that? Can you remember that? Because that was Rick Grayson.
There was 2 or 3 different writers on the Rick
And then
Grayson.
I went on to somebody else before Tom Taylor took over. So
he's Scott Lobdell.
No, he was Red Hood.
Yeah, he was on Red Hood.
Yeah,
Scott Lobdell was on Red Hood Outlaw.
He may have been on Nightwing, but I can't remember. But anyway, there's a whole bunch of stuff here. It's basically is it the Joker War? I think kind of storyline, which was okay. I read it in singles. I don't know if I'll buy the omnibus, but it is there if you are a completionist and want to collect all Batman.
We have got some double dip in here as well. This is what I was talking to Alid about the other day. We've got Detective Comics 120 to 126. They're actually in another omnibus. Can't remember which one it is now. I think it might be the Tomasi omnibus. It's actually in there. So I will get it because it fills a gap. If it fills a gap, it'll be a run. I'm hoping it'll be.
I'll get it if I can get it at a good price, but it's not one. It's not one of my immediate desires to pick up. Alice saying the Red Hood Nightwing issues are Joker War crossover, and Steve saying this Tinian Batman listing can't be correct. Either the title is wrong, and it's a Joker War, or contents are wrong.
Yeah, it does read more like a Joker War omnibus, to be honest. That's how it reads to me with a lot of the crossovers.
I mean, it's only got 7 issues or something of Detective Comics in it.
Yeah, and Batman. Look how many Batman it's got. It's a Batman book, and it's got what 14 issues of Batman.
I mean, unless his run was just that short.
I know Tynian's a big name, and I know they usually double down on him, but
because I know he done a run and then was there not or Floss Phil. I know he did a run, then was there not a run where like Dan Mora and like Mackie or something was on detective for a bit or something.
I can get some details while Phil's getting himself back up and running. Because I tried looking into this a little bit deeper, just because I thought, it didn't sound right.
I say unless his run was only like 3 trades long, in which case they've just put all the event stuff in with it to make an omnibus. But otherwise, it just seems like it's an event book.
Yeah, because it says it goes up to.
Can't hear you.
No sound, mate. Yeah, so obviously 127 was a big book, wasn't it? So there's loads of people that were on 127 because it was 1,000 issues.
Yeah.
But when you actually go into 128, that's when you move over to Tomasi. So Tomasi takes over. So he goes into his run. So maybe you're right. Maybe he did have a very small run,
and they've just included all the events around it.
Yeah, because Tomasi was actually on the book at 999.
Yeah, because he hasn't written any Red Hood or Nightwing or anything. This is just issues that tie in.
To be fair, Tomasi was on what? Tomasi's still on the book. This isn't. Yeah, Tynian hasn't written a lot. Yeah, he hasn't written a lot at all. So I don't know. I think I'll wait until it gets updated. See if there's any change with the solicitation.
Hello?
There you go.
Hello?
Back.
Oh, I don't know what happened there. Just says my mic has lost connection, and then you guys had frozen. So who knows?
Happens, mate.
Yeah.
But no, I think I'll wait till it gets updated because it doesn't sound right. It does sound more like a Joker War omnibus. Let's see what happens.
Let me just get my precious slides back up online here. 2 seconds.
Watch this. There are at least two versions. There'll be one that's called Joker War, and there's one that's called the creator's name, and they'll just have like one issue of a difference.
I was jumping to the chat because Steve's saying it's missing the last 2 trades worth of Tynian's run, which again, mate, that could be explained why they're gonna maybe change it. The last 3 trades. That's a big to miss. They could turn it into volume 1.
If I remember correctly, Tynian's run ended with Scarecrow.
Fear State.
Fear State, that's the one. So maybe that's why it'll be a separate omni.
Yeah,
Joker War 1 and then a Fear State 1.
So Alan's saying Tynian stayed on to 117. So that'll explain why.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so 5 trades worth to 17 issues. So I don't know. They could expand that. They could have just got the listings wrong. I think Steve might be 100% right. Yeah, I think the listing could be completely wrong.
I mean, the thing is, it says at the top here, Batman by James Tynian, but it doesn't actually seem to. Oh, it does have it tiny at the side of the book, doesn't it? By Tynian at the right of the book.
Yeah, but I don't know. This is what I'm trying to say from earlier on. I don't know how accurate these can be because this could just be called the Joker War Omnibus.
Yeah, I feel it will just come out called
it's like until we know for certain. Because I think with the if there's 5 trades worth plus there's 2 events, it's either one big omnibus or it's 2 separate omnibuses for Tynian's run, really, because he didn't have a run of like random issues. You know what I'm trying to say? It was always this over.
DC with Batman recently as well has really went for not calling things creators' names. Like they've had a lot of books like Nightwing, Prince of Gotham, and like stuff like that, rather than calling it Kyle Higgins' run. You know, like
So that's the thing I was trying to think earlier.
You know, and then there was the I forget what it was. There's a Detective Comics one recently that was, like, had a big subtitle on it as well.
The Rise, the Fall of the Batman.
Yeah. So they like their subtitles, so I feel like that's what they'll go with.
Yeah.
See, I prefer the subtitles because that limits your options of orphaned issues. Because as soon as you slap a creator's name on it, if it's not written by them, it's not in the book.
Yeah. Moving on. Here's one for you, Martin, I'm sure.
Yes, Green Arrow. Love Green Arrow. I've wanted to get this run for a little while now, and I was been hunting some trades, and now I don't have to. So finally, it's going to start off with Kevin Smith's run on Quiver, and then we're going to move into Judd Winnick's run because it looks like it covers a nice chunk of the run because Kevin Smith does jump off the book after his arc. And then Judd Winnick pretty much rides it through to the end. So I'm hoping we're going to get another one following it. It says on the Omnibus Volume 1, so we could get the rest, complete that whole era of Green Arrow. So it's another one on the shelf.
I think just what you mentioned there about you hope you get Volume 2, and I think for years there was never a guarantee of DC, but with the amount of books they're kind of putting out here at the minute, you kind of wonder. You should have the hope that these Volume 2s will come out, especially there's another one listed there under the line here. We'll get to that. It's been out for a while, and you've been looking for Volume 2. I think HighlandG is looking for Volume 2 of another book. I think if they're going to do this and still call them Volume 1s, they need to deliver and give it the Volume 2. So I know you're a big Green Arrow fan, so hopefully they do come with a whole lot. Green Arrow, is he a character for you, Jay? Is that something you would...
I've read bits and pieces. I was just reading, I think it's the Benjamin Percy run, the fairly recent one, Rebirth. So I just finished reading through that recently. Really enjoyed most of that. It tails off a bit towards the end, but I like the kind of modern take on it. I'm not sure what the Kevin Smith run is. I don't think I've read anything of it. Is that the one that introduces his son?
I haven't read it, but I know he had an absolute edition out for his run, which is only a very small.
I know there's an iconic book by somebody within Green Arrow when they introduce his son. The son kind of takes over the mantle of the kind of Green Arrow, and that's where he kind of comes from.
His son is Arsenal, isn't it?
No, talking about
his sidekick's Arsenal.
Connor
his
Hawke.
Son, I forget what his name is.
Connor Hawke.
Connor Hawke, that's it. Yeah, and he's a bit more kind of like athletic, and he's got darker skin and stuff. Yeah,
I vaguely know who that is, but I can't think. Yeah. It's not for me, Green Arrow. I mean, it's not someone.
His son is in the latest Robin run, which is really good.
Yes, I've seen that. That's maybe what I'm thinking of. Yeah, he is. Yeah,
I've just picked that up as well, off your recommendation.
This is what I'm going to pick up because if one day they do an omnibus of all the White Knight stuff, that's fine. But I'm quite happy with the deluxe editions for each of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I have the first 2 in deluxe.
Yep.
This is it? No, this is the. They've got a few random side books. I had the Harley Quinn one, which doesn't have a deluxe yet, and then they had the most recent Joker storyline.
Generation Joker,
yeah. So this is before that, but in terms of actually the main books, I think this is like the 4th main story.
If you consider it books written by Sean Murphy, this is the 3rd one, so this will be the third one to get a deluxe. The Harley Quinn was written by his wife, I believe, and I think the other one was written by maybe somebody else.
Manuel Scalera done the art as well, I think, in one of them. That wasn't Sean Murphy. And then the Generation Joker, I can't remember if it's his wife again or somebody different.
Not that, I would love the whole lot in deluxe, but I think that's why those ones haven't been given the treatment.
That's the annoying part, because I would happily pick them all up in deluxe, and if they do release an Omni, I'm not interested because I have them in oversized anyway. But if they're not going to do those 2
I also just like the idea of being able to just read that chunk, without having to pick up the whole omnibus.
Exactly, because while it's all a continuing story, they're still very different. It's the White Knight universe, I suppose, but each story you can just read on its own and not worry about the rest. But I am a big fan of the White Knight stuff.
It's good to know they are bringing out a 3rd one, though, because it is a slow kind of release of these deluxe versions, because they always bring out the standard hardcover first, and then you got to try and figure out on the listing if you're buying the standard hardcover or the deluxe.
Yeah, it's the same thing with Deceased as well, because they had the standard hardcovers, and then we got 1 deluxe, and now we're getting as we'll see, we're getting the omnibus, but like they're only getting volume 1 as the deluxe. But again, I wouldn't buy that unless I can get the rest of them in deluxe.
It's why I'd
So
give
it's
it a miss.
Yeah, well, I actually did buy that first one to read it in the deluxe because I'd never read it before, so I wanted to just kind of try it out, and I didn't know if they were going to do more or not. It's not a bad book, but I just feel like I'm kind of a little bit sort of Injustice, Tom Taylor type stuff out a little bit. So like for me, I'm probably not going to continue reading it, but it was a nice format to see it in.
The other stories, to be fair, it was like Unkillables, and the one that was like an online exclusive story,
World War,
Hope
World
or something.
War something. No,
Hope World's End or something like
and then
that.
we've got DC versus Vampires.
Ah, yeah, that's another one. Yeah, I haven't read that.
And then there was the backstory in the books that had like Red Hood Outlaw, kind of like just going on like a vampire hunt. They were like Task Force Z or something.
But then Task Force C, and then they had another zombie one somewhere as well, didn't they? And vampires.
It's just too much. Like I love Injustice type stories, but like once in a while, you know.
I agree. I know what you're saying. Like I say, those ones I haven't bothered to read. Maybe I will if there's a deluxe that's decent price. But
I think if you like one, stick with that one story and just enjoy that one, and rather than try to read them all.
Just to catch up, just with Batman, Alice said they also got one trade of Williamson that follows Tinian before Zdarsky starts his fun. I can't remember Williamson on Batman.
I do. He had a very short
remember
run.
what it was like. I would have read it because I read all the Batman's one. I always read the singles. I just can't remember.
I can see the cover.
He was on a lot of books for like a very brief period because
he was like the main DC guy for a lot, wasn't he? Yeah. After his Flash ended, he was basically free to do what he wants for a while. Steve said it's annoying how they missed out on the presents
Harley Quinn. Yeah, this is the Beyond the White Knight.
Yes, yeah. Pardon me, but yeah, White Knight stuff. I'm gonna pick this up, but again, I hope they do the other two miniseries in the same format because I'd be annoyed if they didn't. Justice League by Scott Snyder. I've read this in single issues, but I'm still gonna pick this up because I'm really in the mood for a read through of Snyder's stuff of Batman. There's Justice League stuff going into metal and death metal. Like I feel like I want to read it all, and this is going to form part of it, I suppose, as a reread. Have you guys read it?
I haven't read it. This is another one that I wanted to get because they released 3 deluxe editions covering this, and I think when I actually come around to picking it up, the third one was just you couldn't get hold of it anywhere, and I just didn't want to double down on 2 books and couldn't get the third one. So it's just never come back on my radar. And obviously now we're getting Omnibus, it's saved me the hassle. So I'll just get the Omni.
Yeah, I never read the Justice League from New 52 because, as I was kind of saying earlier, I found that each of the families of books kind of tied together. So I would read, say, like Action Comics, Superman, and Super Sons, and they all kind of like corresponded. But the Superman that was in Justice League didn't seem to correspond with the Superman that was in those books as far as timeline and what was happening. So I found it quite difficult to read the Justice League books alongside the families of books that I was reading in the Bat family and the Super family and the Wonder Woman kind of standalone.
Yeah, because is this the same run where Superman revealed his true identity? And that was Bendis was on, I think.
Where there was another Superman hiding in the world, and that's what we ended up getting in Rebirth.
Oh, well, there you go.
I think that's what leads on to.
Yeah, well, this stuff again, just
I briefly read some of the Justice League Dark stuff at the time because it was different enough. It wasn't tied to these kind of characters, but Justice League itself, I just found was its own self-contained thing in a way, and it frustrated me with the 10 other books I was reading that it didn't line up with.
Well, I think Justice League was one of those titles during Rebirth that just kept changing hands quite a lot. I think it's one of the least successful books from Rebirth.
Yeah, I think after this, I think it was like, was it Simon Spurrier or maybe even Bendis had a crack at Justice League for a while after Snyder here, and it never seemed to kind of have, again, like what G's saying, it's like if maybe it's naive. I'm the same thing with Avengers. I think if you got your main characters doing something in their own books, it should be somewhat reflected in like the team book, like the same kind of timeline. Like if Batman's like in another dimension and Batman, he can't be in Justice League. And surely, if that's the case, Justice League should be helping get them out. Do you know what I'm trying to say? It's like they should all kind of correlate with one another.
Yeah, your writers should be having discussions, behind the scenes about what's going on in their story arc, so that whoever it is writing this book can take those into account when writing their story.
Yeah, as I said, it does happen in the families. So, like, if Nightwing's in Batman, he can't be doing something in Nightwing at that point in time. Like that kind of stuff does happen, but they don't seem to do that with the bigger book that is the Justice League. They seem to have like a Bat family of people that speak together, a Super family of people that speak together, say Wonder Woman family of people that speak together. But they don't all kind of line up.
Yeah.
So I just want to touch upon a comment that Alad's put down here. Justice League Snyder Omni doesn't have 1/3 of his run, which is Year of the Villain.
But I think there's a Year of a Villain Omni coming out, which is annoying.
Do you reckon?
I think there is, or deluxe or of some sort. Because Year of the Villain, it run across like 20 different books. They go like random one shots. So it's going to be one of those. And the Year of the Villain's the story that I believe brought us what is her name? The new Joker love interest to replace Harley.
Punchline.
I think that's Year of the Villain.
It makes sense because let's be honest, this book is not a small book. It's 1,200 pages. There's only so much they can keep cramming.
Year of the Villain,
into
not
this.
Joker's daughter.
Sorry?
Was Year of the Villain not Joker's daughter? Rather than Punchline. I thought Punchline was later in the Batman book. I thought Punchline was created in the Batman book, as opposed to created as a Year of the Villain one shot. I thought the one shot was Joker's daughter.
Maybe I'm getting mixed up because it might have actually been was it Perpetua, the one who was in Death Metal now. This is why I need to reread.
There's so many new characters because you've got Miracle Molly as well that's been introduced. You've got so many different new characters.
Hunter. Yeah,
it's just.
But read it. I'm pretty certain I did see a Year of the Villain book somewhere recently as well. I remember thinking I'm not going to buy that because I have no interest because it's there was a spill of all the books had a Year of a Villain month essentially, and all the books were Year of the Villain stuff. It's just like it's not for me.
I forget if Year of the Villain was Rebirth or New 52 though. Was it during Rebirth?
It's fairly recent. Yeah, so it would have been Rebirth. Year of the Villain was in around was it maybe just around the end of Tom King's run, or in around Tom King Tinian time, I think.
Yeah, okay.
Because there's your question: is this pre or post Death Metal?
This is in between Metal and Death Metal, my understanding.
Okay.
Because if I remember correctly, Luthor gets some sort of, I don't want to spoil it. Gets some sort of like additional power from like Perpetua or something like that, and it brings on like the celestial type beings down, and then all kicks off in Death Metal, and I think this is the start of it. So Steve's confirming that, so I'm not speaking nonsense. He says it helps set up Death Metal. So that's the part.
Fair enough.
One for you, G, for sure, surely.
Oh, possibly, but I have the hardcovers, and this is where I'm kind of a little bit. I'm not sure. I need to see check what my hardcovers contain and what this kind of lines up to, because what's in my hardcovers is purely Nightwing issues, but it's basically 2 trades of the main writer in like 3 hardcovers. So it's like 2, 2, and 1, and the last one is an extra trade. It's like one of the trades that sort of starts leading into the Rick stuff, but it's not actually the Rick stuff. It's like a filler trade, if you like. So I'm just wondering if this would include that stuff, like the pre-Rick stuff, if you like, or if it will just stop at the Tim Seeley stuff.
I think Rick Grayson stuff starts at number 50, if I remember correctly, because I have it. I jumped on it.
There's 2 volumes before the Rick Grayson stuff starts. There's one that's like a really like techie issue with Batgirl, and there's one where like he fights somebody, I forget who it is, like Azrael or something. There's 2 trades that are definitely between the end of Seeley's run and the start of the Rick stuff. And then the very first trade of the Rick stuff, because I've read all of this, the very first trade of the Rick stuff was then retconned in the second trade of the Rick stuff because another writer took over.
Well, this could be interesting because the Rick stuff kicks off on Night Terrors, doesn't it? Which
No.
is when it's that's when it, or does it kick off the Bleeding Edge?
No, so
trade
Bleeding Edge is the tech one. That's not Rick.
Well, that's not included in this. This covers right the way up to Volume 6. This cuts out the Bleeding Edge trade paperback. So
Yeah,
could we potentially get a Volume 2? Could this be Volume 1 of 2?
Sorry, it is Night Terrors because that's the one I have in single issues. That's why he jumped on Nightwing because he had just been shot in the head in the Batman book.
Yeah.
And then obviously in the Nightwing book, he was obviously, I don't know, he lost his mind, I don't know who he was, and became Rick. So yeah, it was Night Terrors Part 1 is issue 50. So this is obviously leaving room. As like G saying, there's one volume in between.
So
the Rick Grayson.
So I wonder if they'll include all that as a second volume, or if they'll do kind of what they've done with some of the New 52 runs and just go, well, that second half isn't as good, we'll just leave it, and then just jump straight on to the next writer.
Or they could drop one of the trades out of it, only cap this off at 40 volume 5. Just say they changed the listing, and then they maybe did up to issue 34. If they cut 34, and then you've got another second omnibus, roughly the same sizes.
Well, you've got
right the way up to Tom Taylor's
Tom Taylor 78, I think. So somewhere in between there. That Benjamin Percy was a guy on that Night Terrors Part 1. So I'm not sure if that was his first outing on that book, or he had the few issues prior to that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have the books to hand because I got rid of a lot of them. But like, as I said, I read through all of that just because I wanted to, you know, as we were saying earlier, kind of go through the highs and lows of the characters that you enjoy. And yeah, it was a bit of a mess because you get the end of the run. It's pretty definitive kind of end of Seeley's run where he's like, I'm going to do my thing. You know, you get a kind of like end splash page type thing. And then you get this one trade of him fighting some random person for no real kind of reason. And as I said, then you get the start of the Rick run, but then it changes writer, and there's 2 or 3 trades of the Rick run, and that first issue of the second trade, if you like, of the Rick stuff, kind of retells everything that was in the first trade, essentially, like, you know, writing out that previous writer, which is really weird.
Yeah, I would say like let's not mention Rick. And this is the thing. So I was reading the Batman book. I think it was Tom King. And it was the Russian guy. What's the Russian villain? KG Beast?
KG Beast, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's the one who shoots Nightwing in the head. And then I thought, it was really dramatic. It was really good. I'm going to jump on Nightwing. And I did. I have 5 issues and single issues. And I just stopped collecting after that because I thought, nah, this is rubbish.
See, here's DC.
So have you read the latest Nightwing then, or are you not reading it?
I've read the Tom Taylor stuff, yeah. So, but as I said, at this point, at issue 50, I tried it for a few issues and then I didn't twig on with it, and then I
Yeah, I mean, the thing for me is that if they stop here, they just do the Seeley stuff. That's great. It's like a kind of self-contained run, and I like the run to that point. I think it's a good run. And then if you went on to the Tom Taylor stuff, that would be a reasonably smooth kind of transition without the kind of Rick things in between. Apart from the fact that Tom Taylor's now started pulling characters out of the Rick stuff into his story. So because you have B in the current story arcs, you have to include B's origin, which is in the Rick stuff.
Yeah.
So they have to collect it somehow.
So what I think they might do, because they did this with Detective Comics, I reckon they're going to release a Rick omnibus, like what Steve said down here, the Rick Grayson era omnibus. I reckon we're going to get that. Because what I think they'll do,
kind of like the Grayson omnibus.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I think they'll do, they'll cut out the Bleeding Edge, because where the Bleeding Edge isn't included in this, and Benjamin Percy has only had a couple of issues,
it's kind of
that could be it could be an orphaned. So if anybody's got the trade for the Bleeding Edge, hold on to it, because I think that could be not collected in a future omnibus. That's my prediction, because they've done it with Detective Comics. There's 2 trades between Tiny And's Detective Comic run and Tomasi's run that's not collected.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they did some sort of cuts between those first two trades of the Rick stuff as well, because it kind of double dips on itself.
Yeah. Another New 52, Suicide Squad. Not something that interests me. Martin, or just something just up your street? Or
I have the trade to this. To be honest with you, I think I want to read it first before I decide if I want to get the omnibus, because I might just be happy with the trades. I'm not a big Suicide Squad guy, but you know me, I'm a DC completionist, so I might end up getting it just to be a completionist. But we'll see what happens. It's only 800 and something pages. It's not too bad.
it's not too bad. Just saying hello, Comic Bound. Hey guys, sorry I can't stay. Just wanted to drop in, say hi. Looking forward to catching the replay. Please do, and then comment all the books that you might get from this list. We should
So I
get
read the
Catalogue.
Suicide Squad in trades as it was coming out at the time. I was reading that in Harley Quinn as again, because I kind of created families of books that I was kind of reading, so it was that in Harley Quinn. But I'm pretty sure halfway through New 52 it changed or rebooted or something, because it was like the new Suicide Squad or something like that.
Yeah,
You're right.
They had a small run, and it was Tom Taylor, I think, wrote it's like a 12-issue maxi series. Was it after this, or was that
No, this was
reboot?
part of New 52. So every New 52 series had 52 issues. But if the
Oh,
original
okay.
writer finished their run before 52, so say they finished their run at 30 and they were like, right, I'm happy with my run at this point, then someone would always do the other 20 issues or whatever just to fill out the 52. And they completely rebooted Suicide Squad with a completely new team and called it like New Suicide Squad or something for the second half of the run.
Well, by the look of it, this one is just the first 5 trades, which is that what you're saying there, that first arc covered by
Because the
original
first run was like, if you're into like the New 52 Harley Quinn, it's a really good run.
Okay.
New 52 Harley Quinn, was that Jimmy Palmiotti, whatever his name was?
Amanda Connor.
Amanda Connor.
Yeah.
Okay.
The roller derby Harley Quinn.
Yeah. Night Terrors Omnibus. Don't buy this. Just don't buy this. Sorry.
Is it
Just
bad?
Don't waste your money.
I didn't even check any of this out when they stopped every single book to do Night Terrors.
Maybe this was my annoyance with it, because I was enjoying DC at this point in single issues, and I think it was last summer, pretty much like July and August, they stopped their run. They had just in the middle of their runs and brought us Night Terror books. So it was good for, like, if you're collecting single issues, you had a 2 month off buying your single issue books for a while. But I don't know. Do you remember Triple D Comics he was in a weekly comic show. He tried for a while, so I done it with him, and this is one of the books we were reading, and I just couldn't get on board with it.
I watched a few shows where Triple G was talking about them and just being like, no.
They're dreadful.
The art on the covers are really nice, though. I mean, that looks like it's something from Magic the Gathering or something.
Yeah,
I can't even remember what the story was about. Something along the lines where Deadman was involved, and Constantine is all about trying to find like some sort of stone was in someone's dream. So after they're all sleeping, that's what it is. They've all been put to sleep, all the heroes, and someone's searching for this dream stone or something like that. The premise sounded really good, from what I remember, but it was just dreadful, and all the tie-ins were just no. Like the Night Terrors book itself, you can get past it and enjoy it for what it's worth, but like the main kind of book, but you're going into a lot of stuff that's just like Shazam. I remember it was rubbish.
I don't feel like they could be very original, though, because a lot of DC heroes' origins are horror stories. Like that's their fear is their origin. That's how they come to be. They overcome their fear.
That's what it is. You kind of go into their dreams or nightmares, and you kind of have to combat kind of what they're in, so to speak, like what their fears are essentially. And
it's a big book as well. Look at the 1,400 pages. We're talking Blackest Night size here.
It's funny that's that because it's not the $150 price tag. Maybe they know it's not that good. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Because all the other books have been 1,300 pages plus. So $150. This is $125.
Well, you're not likely to like read it all the way through, are you? You're going to read like it in tiny little chunks.
Yeah. Just for me, I wouldn't like it. I'm not going to buy it. And knowing Martin, in terms of his kind of. I don't think you would enjoy it, knowing you're.
I'll say I won't buy it, but let's just see what happens. You might see me like this on Instagram, like this.
If they were to take just Night Terrors 1 to 4 and like one key tie-in or something, like could it stand alone as its own story?
As in, you don't need all the other tie-ins.
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. If you were just
1 to 4, to be fair, was fine as like a trade paperback, and obviously the First Blood and the Night's End, I think, like the Alpha and the Omega type of.
Yeah, I'm saying so, like the key tie, the kind of head and footer. Yeah,
you could just get by that, but all the other stuff I can't stand over to say they were good.
I feel like it'd been better just in a deluxe.
It got to the point where whenever we were doing this on Pete's channel, I don't even think we finished them.
Oh wow!
They were dreadful. Even the art and some, I can't think of the top of my head now. Even the art in some of the books.
Because it was all like guest teams taking over other people's books. Yeah. It wasn't even
Maybe this is the Forbidden Planet sale situation.
That's if you got a fair price down like $30 or something. Or,
yeah, 40 quid.
Whatever, by all means. And Steve is just saying, I know nothing about this, and you haven't sold it to me either. I'm just saving your wallet. You can thank me later. I don't think this. If I'm being honest, I'd be surprised if this would have many pre-orders, and this could be one of the books that don't actually make it. Like the solicited, no pre-orders come in, and then just scrap it.
I'm surprised they're even soliciting it this early because I've never read it, but I've always heard negative things about it. So let's see what happens.
As I say, if you see it in sale cheap somewhere in the reduced section and Forbidden Planet, sure, give it a blast. Yeah. Injustice, I haven't read any of the previous stuff. I think you have, G, if I remember correctly. Have you read this? Injustice?
I've read both of the Injustice omnibus, like the full main run.
I've read a good chunk of it.
So this wasn't Tom Taylor, was it? Did he still continue with this?
Yeah.
So I believe he did the first omnibus and about half of the second one, and then someone finished up the run, and then he came back and done, I think it was like a prequel, and then this.
Okay.
If I remember correctly. So 99% of it is him, but a little bit of the end of the first one isn't him.
This will finish off Injustice, though. This is it. Yeah. This is as long as the original Justice. So this will basically wrap up everything. So this is the book for everyone of Injustice to find.
The Injustice omnibus, they're well out of print. Like the first, I think they're well out of print. Well, this is the thing too. I feel like yes, they could sell this book to people who currently have that, but they'll be better off bringing Injustice back into print if they want to make more sales for this.
They probably will.
Yeah, I'd think so.
I think because they tie with the games, you can somewhat read it as its own story, although it is part of the overall thing because it's a game between each like main Injustice arc.
Yeah, the game
so it does kind of break it up a little bit. And like I remember messaging Shane ages ago when I was first reading the first omnibus, being like, "Oh, like this is the best story I've ever read." With I forget who it was now. I think it was Bizarro and what's the not Joker character in DC that's very similar? Trickster from the Flash.
Trickster, yeah,
Trickster,
Flash.
Yeah. So I think it was like Trickster and Bizarro was like flying along, and Trickster had just told Bizarro basically that when you cough or sneeze, cover your mouth, and they're flying along. And then like I'm like, oh, this is like the best story ever. I sent this picture to Shane. Shane's like, stop reading, because the inevitable thing is he sneezes, covers his mouth, Trickster gets dropped.
Oh, okay.
And I was just like, oh crap. So yeah, like there's quite heartbreaking moments in the kind of story. But I love those first couple of omnibuses. But as I was saying with the other books, though, I don't feel I can reread and reread those kind of stories. Like once you've had those shock moments, you kind of like move on.
Yeah, like I know it sounds awful, but like I know you're coming from. Whereas if you could like reread a run, like a really good run of a character, and you appreciate it more and more. But like again, if you're just writing a book to have these shock moments, like as a Deceased, for example, when Batman dies, and it's just like that's a shocking moment. But I've read it now, so every time you go to read it, you can't rely on the shocking moments that you through that story again. So I totally know what you're coming from. Yeah, but I might think about Injustice because I've heard good things. But again, I think what you're saying is like if I buy the omnibuses, I mean, I have loads I haven't read once, let alone reread. So how often am I going to reread the Injustice stuff? Really?
And that's the thing. And if it was a matter of time, I would say to people like, you don't need to read the whole run. You could probably even just read the first omnibus.
Yeah.
Or just play the games. That gives the ending away.
The games are fantastic.
Well, there's that
I
too.
love Mortal Kombat and stuff. So.
Yeah.
Detective Comics. I'll nab this because I don't know a lot about it. I didn't read New 52 Detective. I jumped on New 52 Snyder stuff, but I never read Detective. So it's James Tynion. He was on for a large chunk of it. So I just think I feel like it's going to be something I like. So
I agree with you. I jumped on Batman. I never touched Detective Comics, and I've only tried recently to try and hunt some of these down, and I can't find all of them. So I've sort of struggled, and now they make an omnibus again. It's another one I haven't got to go looking for. So this is why I'm so pleased with all these solicitations, because I haven't got a hunt for half the books I'm currently hunting for. So I'm happy.
Yeah.
And this is one of them.
Gee, something you're going to have this yourself, or?
I've got the Eternal books, Batman and Robin Eternal and Batman Eternal. I don't remember if I've actually read this or not. I know that I've had the Scott Snyder, like the main Batman ones, and sold them. I know that I have the Eternal ones currently because I really like the Robin stories.
Well, they doubled down on Batman, didn't they, with New 52? So you got Batman Detective Comics, Batman Eternal, Batman and Robin. Then you got Batman and Robin Eternal.
Yeah. I feel like I got back into Detective with Rebirth.
There was Batman the Dark Knight as well. I was reading it from New 52. Remember that one?
Yeah.
Yep.
The Dark Knight, and then there was something else, another Batman book which I have as well. Yeah, but sure. Batman sells, and this will sell.
Oh yeah,
I'm pretty certain.
there was loads of it during New 52. There must have been about 10 different Bat Family books.
I say I have a lot of them apart from this, so I need to correct that wrong. Martin, this is one I know you're excited about, and I am too to an extent. But I think I can remember whenever Philip Kennedy Johnson kind of came over and took control of the kind of Action Comics and Superman and Infinite Frontier, and it's almost like I found it hard to follow in terms of like single issues. But again, the way this looks mapped out, you've also got Action Comics, you've got Superman, the Infinite Frontier, number 0, and the Authority. So I feel like it feels good having it all in one place. Now, but correct me if I'm wrong, Superman Warlord Apocalypse, is that not like one of that really like a medieval Superman book that came out?
Well, this ties into Warworld. This ties into Warworld, and this is why recently when we got the Warworld compendium, I was really disappointed because I think many of us were like, well, why didn't you just release an omnibus? That just made so much more sense. And this is what this is. So you've got the Warworld stuff in there, but you've got tie-ins as well, which is brought Son of Kal-El and obviously the Authority as well. You got the whole of the Authority book that's out. That's another trade that's included into it, which is great. But the reason I'm happy about it is this is a modern run. So this is something that I'm looking to continue buying as Action Comics to continue after Bendis's run.
Yeah.
Now I haven't got to worry. I can stop now with Bendis's trades and then just wait for this to come out, and that just slots straight there. And I'm up to modern day because Philip Kennedy Johnson is currently still writing the book.
Yeah, from what I can remember, and this is the problem with DC over the years, they had Joshua Williamson, had Philip Kennedy Johnson, and they had Tynion, and they all seemed to be spearheading whatever direction DC were going to go in, but they kept changing. Whenever Philip Kennedy Johnson came on, from what I can remember, Superman is off-world. He's gone. This is why his son John was taken into the future or something by his granddaddy, and he was brought back an older self. And then Superman went off-world, and then I think that's why the Son of Kal-El 3 issues is in there, because there was some sort of crossover. whenever they all came back. But yeah, it was a whole complicated history of Superman because Superman revealed his identity in the Bendis run. So everyone knew who he was, and then somehow forgot who he was. And I can't remember how.
Retcon.
Yeah, so this will fill some gaps. And I think I might grab this just trying to get a better understanding of the modern day Superman, because I think if I'm being honest, I think they messed it up. I think they made it too complicated for a while. But this might kind of tie everything in, and you get a better knowledge of where we're at with Superman.
Well, I think with Superman, obviously this is more Action Comics focused, I think. With Superman, they've already restarted Superman. Superman's actually being written by Joshua Williamson, and he is still writing it now. Even though he's been writing about 5 or 6 different books for DC, he's actually dropped a handful of books, and he's actually focusing on this. This is one of his main ones he's focusing on.
Was Mark Waid involved with something Superman too? That's another character. They went with him as the main guy for all their books. Mark Waid.
Yeah, Wade's on World's Finest. Wade's on at the moment.
Yeah,
and he's still writing that.
I think they just got given like a Justice League or something, but did they not though?
Yes, yeah, he's just been given Justice League, and I think Dan Mora, who was with him on World's Finest, has jumped on Superman with Williamson.
Oh, that's right. Yes, yeah. See, I like Superman as a character, but I'll be honest, I find it hard to get into a run of Superman. And like this, and you mentioned Golden Age stuff. There's a Golden Age omnibus coming out, which I might get just to try and get another 5 different versions of Superman, but just kind of get a bit of love for the guy, because other than like the Christopher Reeves movies, like I don't have much to say about Superman.
I really like the Rebirth stuff, because the Rebirth stuff, Action Comics, and the Superman books, they tied in well with Super Sons. So if you read Superman Volume 1 and 2, that kind of like introduced you to the family and the setup and all that kind of stuff, and then you would start reading Super Sons from sort of Volume 2 alongside of that. And you got this kind of like family thing, this very patriotic thing, you know, like it was all about kind of like what you would get in like the Superman and Lois type TV shows. It wasn't like just this OP Superman in the Justice League. It was very much a family story, and teaching his son his powers, and and as I say, you would get elements of like Damian in there with the Super Sons, and it would all kind of like tie together really well. I felt that was a really fun way to kind of look at Superman, because sometimes he is just this over-the-top superpowered kind of person that is a lot harder to relate to. So if I am going to see him in that kind of thing, I want him in like a 5-issue, whatever short story somewhere. I don't want.
Good thing you mentioned that, Jay, because there's a deluxe coming up later on, which I'm a big fan of. Martin Scott and Shane weren't so much a big fan of, but we'll get to that.
So I think when you get these super OP moments, like they're better in that kind of element. But if you want us to connect with this character long term, and they are a really overpowered character, the only 2 ways to really make that interesting is either to go down the sort of family man route, which they seem to do with Rebirth and work really well, or talk about how he's holding back his powers. And kind of like focus more on that being the element of how he's like, it's his self-control.
But that's what I mean. With this run, they basically sent Superman away because they couldn't. How much more can you really tell? And obviously, Son of Kal-El kind of took over as the main book for a while.
I feel like they just wanted to age up John though for that. Like I don't know what they.
I know Superman, you don't like because you love Super Sons, and the fact that Damian and John are
I don't care about any changes they made to the character. Like, don't be wrong. Like I'm not going to get into all the political ins and outs of what they changed for different characters. But I love the Super Sons dynamic. Yeah. I just wish it went on for a few more volumes.
I think
they didn't need to touch it. I think that's the frustration. They didn't need to touch it. I think John and Damian at their ages they was perfect, and that dynamic was perfect. They didn't need to change it.
I haven't read the Super Sons. I have it to read. I have like the 4th iteration of the Super Sons book, not the super duper duper deluxe omnibus they have, but the one
the blue
before
one.
The last one. Yeah, and what do you call it? So my knowledge of kind of the Super Sons is in Deceased, in one of the Deceased books. It was them two were like running the show, so to speak, and they were fantastic together. I loved the banter between the two of them, the way they interacted and almost had a bit of a brotherly kind of tiff and love towards one another. It was great. So I do want to read Super Sons, and I agree. I think it's sad that like they've aged John up to the point where like that's gone now. You know, unless they
always retcon. Always a retcon.
Another one for you too, I'm sure. Supergirl, the New 52. I don't know who Mike Johnson is. I can't think of anything he's been on prior.
As I say, I wasn't really following creators as such at New 52. I was more following characters. So the Supergirl run for me was just an absolute sort of like badass take on this sort of female character, where you'd normally get, you know, she's come down and she's got to kind of play this sort of second fiddle to Superman and hide behind the scenes and so on and so forth. Like this literally starts with like she's basically appeared from her ship or whatever, and she's supercharged from having been in the sun and so forth. So she's like well power than Kal-El is, and basically she just starts hulking out, trying to figure out what the hell's going on, and the army goes after her, and like that's literally how the story starts. You know, and then she's got to find her peace with things. She allies with some maybe not so nice people at times, you know, because she finds a kind of connection with them. And you get this sort of like angsty, you know, badass sort of Supergirl story, because what a lot of people seem to forget with Supergirl as a whole is that she is older than Kal-El, and she was in the sun for a lot longer than Kal-El. So let's see that. And that's what this kind of lets you see.
Supergirl is one of those characters I really want to get to know more. I think we read part of the Peter David run, but I can remember like when Shane was trying to explain it, and it was almost really complicated. Like there's two different versions of Supergirl. Like,
yeah, that's an alternate Supergirl that they fill in kind of down the line.
Matrix Supergirl.
Yeah, there's an everyday girl and a super entity, and they merge together and they take on the persona of Supergirl, but neither one of them actually are Kara.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
I might nab this one myself, just to kind of get a better. I know obviously New 52 was a whole kind of like clean slate, so to speak, but I think it's something I'm going to pick up.
Good job,
MJ Comics. Hope you're having a great Saturday. Hope you are too. MJ Comics on a live stream. Was it last night or the night before? I can't remember if it was Thursday or Friday with Gem Mint. I'm sure we're all aware of Gem Mint Collectibles. Also, he's a big Omnibus collector, so do check out MJ's interview with him. There's a lot of drama going on in the YouTube comic book community at the minute, and it's quite fun to not be involved in it, take the back seat and be able to watch it sometimes.
I don't know what Gem's collecting nowadays. He seemed to go from, it was all the Omnibus for a bit, and then it was all the Absolutes, and then it was ginormous statues, like quarter scale statues.
Massive statues.
And then he got like arcade machines and things. Like he's a really entertaining watch, but I just don't know what he's collecting next.
Yeah, he covered that last night for a spell. I never caught the whole stream, but basically when it comes to the arcade machines, he's like, well, I've done that for a while on my channel, but the people who make arcade machines, like they've had their time, you know. So if you had a channel dedicated to those arcade one-up machines, if they're called, it's like they're done now. Yeah, you still enjoy them, but they're no longer the thing. So
I think that's the interesting thing with Gem Mint is that he's a personality, but he also knows that he's a business.
Yeah,
and he very meticulously uses that. So he's been able to make a hell of a lot of money off of having people follow him, basically.
Well, if you watch his latest kind of stuff at the minute, he's kind of, I don't want to judge or anything or kind of saying it's wrong, but he's on the sale his house. I think it's more along the lines of like he got involved with like Whatnot and done things that were different than what he would normally do, and then he's to get back into the
guy with a lot of stuff, and that can be risky. And as I say, I hold absolutely nothing against him for monetizing what he does, because that's his business. I would love to be able to have had half the books or half the statues that he had, even for a short period, and sell them on to somebody else. Like even not making money, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Get to see
them. He seems to be taking like a step back and trying to get back to what he was before, like what made his channel, what made him be him, type of thing. So, but yeah, still have
as long as he's excited, as long as he enjoys what he's presenting, that's what we're all there for ultimately.
100%. Yeah. But he's still very much involved in the Omnibus game. He's a sick collection anyway.
We all are.
I think someone mentioned this earlier on. Batman War Games. Who was it? Was it?
I did, yeah. So it's around that era, the Chuck Dixon era of sort of Nightwing was when it's like War Games, Murder Fugitive, the Kevin Smith run. There was a few other sort of.
See, this is a thing. I know nothing about this. I did know this was a thing. So all I can ask you now is that with all those books that are part of this omnibus, is like, do I need any other prior reading to this, or would this all be like a self-contained event that I don't have to read a bunch of runs prior to this?
I'd say that it's self-contained as far as the event itself is concerned. I mean, as with any era of Batman, there'll be things that are slightly different. So you might have slightly different Batcaves, slightly different teams of Bat Family or whatever, depending on the era that you're kind of entering into. But very much War Games, like Murder Fugitive, were collected in sort of thicker trades, and this is just compiling them into an omnibus. So they were already complete as far as you could read them.
I thought that was the case because I haven't read any of this, but I knew there was some big trades to go with it, and I always stayed away from picking those trades up because it was.
Yeah, there was like 4 trades of this. There was like 4 trades of, was it New Gotham or something, and then there was the Murder Fugitive. That was like the main runs of this sort of era.
But when you see these 2 big trades, you know that they're going to eventually have an omnibus of this one day. Considering DC always double down on Batman.
Oh, the
that omnibus
trade runs so many times. Yeah. Like they're staples on people's shelves. The War Games, like I said, the Murder Fugitive stuff. I've just bought an update of the Murder Fugitive books myself. I had the newest trades, which was complete as far as all the sort of side issues and stuff you need for the main run itself is concerned. But they've just announced an omnibus, and it seems quite chunky, and it seems a bit more expensive than I wanted to kind of pay. And I'd seen on Instagram that someone had a set of 4 hardcovers that were done by Eaglemoss, and they were actually OHCs, which is very uncommon for Eaglemoss. Mm-hmm. And basically, the 4 spines have a connecting spine of the graphic of the sort of Murder Fugitive graphic, and I managed to get it like shipped. The guy's like, it's not here yet, but I got it shipped for like 50 quid, like all in. 60 quid ish all in. So
is that the one you posted in the Discord? That one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I went back and forth kind of with like price and stuff on it. But yes, I've never seen oversized Eaglemoss books with slipcovers before. It seems like they only did it specifically for this run. I don't know what the binding's like. I'm kind of going in blind a little bit. Mm-hmm. But I figure that if I don't like them, I can always get the omnibus as and when it kind of drops as an overall thing. But I really love the Murder Fugitive run, especially because there's a few moments between Batman and Nightwing in it where it kind of discusses their relationship, and they're quite heartfelt kind of moments. I'm not going to spoil it for anybody who hasn't read them, but those are the things that keep me coming back to that story rather than like the extended story. So this hardcovers that I bought have like an additional 15-20 issues at the start, but I don't know what they contain because as far as I was concerned, the trades already contained the whole story.
Okay.
So I think it'll either have a pre-story or a lead-in or something.
If you've got any questions regarding these books, the perfect person to speak to would be Steve, because I know Steve owns all 4 of these books. He spoke to me about it many moons ago, didn't you, Steve? And he's got these. So if you've got any questions about build or what's in them, Steve will be able to answer those for you prior to.
Is that the one Steve sold at HighlandG? Is that what he's saying here? They're mine? No, I don't know. That's
is he? Is Steve?
It might have been his I bought. I don't know.
That's why Harry took it. Yeah. Right.
But no, I did ask him on Instagram. We were discussing the contents of the book, and he sent me a couple of graphics of what was contained in the omnibus because he'd been comparing his books to the omnibus that he has.
So here's the question, Steve: Are you upgrading? Are you upgrading?
No, I think what he's saying is it's his books that I saw on Instagram.
Okay.
Rather than it's his books I bought.
That's what I was thinking.
Because his books were still shrink wrapped, and he hasn't read them yet. And the ones I bought were red, so they've already been opened. But yeah, like it just looks really cool on the shelf, and I was like, that's a run I really like, and I want to kind of upgrade it. And I'll probably end up picking up this to kind of go alongside that. I haven't read War Games, but I know that there's key character moments that happen in it, and I know it's a similar time period to Murder Fugitive, so that's why I would want to pick this up.
So basically, I'm convinced already that I'll go into this blind. I'm going to buy this. Know nothing about it, very little, but I'll pick this up.
Me too.
If they actually ever get it out. Another Nightwing book, Tom Taylor. So we mentioned the one from Tim Seeley went up to issue 43 with a few in between somehow and the Rick race and stuff. And it leads into this.
This leaves us in a weird place now then, because this is what I was saying before, which is that you've now got all the Rick stuff left up in the air between these two runs.
Which is
and
why
are
I
they
think
only
we're going
bringing
to
out the Dixon ones as compendiums?
Yeah, the other thing is too. This is the Tom Taylor.
Like, why is the creator of Nightwing getting shunned? It makes no sense.
I think you got to remember that they'll push out the compendiums first, but I do think you'll get omnibuses at some point. I reckon
we will,
just
but
ones.
it just seems wrong that literally the creator of Nightwing is not getting the omnibus first.
No, I agree. I felt the same way about the Tim Drake Robin compendium as well, and Lobo. I wanted the Lobo one as well, but I didn't want the compendium.
Yeah.
So I think maybe
giving DC their due, I have seen a lot more Peter David books coming out recently, so hopefully Chuck Dixon's ones will come after. Because they're similar era.
You think they've got to double down on a lot of Omnis for Chuck Dixon's run? Because it's going to be what, three Omnis to cover that run.
Do we know how much this contains? Because I'm already like 3 trades into this. I'm not going to keep buying trades.
It's 3 trades. I was just saying it's issued with 100, so 752 pages. There's only 22 issues. Well, maybe more than 3 trades, but I think Tom Taylor's run is going to end at 115. So that leaves 15 issues. Do you know what I'm trying to, like, why couldn't they just wait until he finishes his run and put it all into this?
Could this potentially be one that gets cancelled or gets delayed? Because they already have the next 2 trades solicited. I think number 4's coming out this month.
I feel like it's too early for a Tom Taylor omnibus. I feel like if they want to do oversized hardcovers, like a 2-trade oversized hardcover.
I think because Nightwing is one of its bigger sellers, but Steve's in here, like, this is weird for a volume 1, and it doesn't say volume 1, which is the problem I have, as there doesn't leave many issues for a volume 2 unless they include his Titan stuff. Now, there was a tie-in with the Titans, like he kind of rebooted or relaunched the Titans.
Beast, oh god.
So they could have another omnibus with that. But I just feel like if there's only 15 issues left of his run here, he said it does say volume 1. Am I missing something?
It doesn't say on the list.
No.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm all for large OHCs that they call omnibuses. You know, I'd rather have a smaller book. I like smaller books, but it just seems very strange to be doing this while he's still doing his run. Would it not be better putting this into doing 2 Dixon omnibuses and wait till he completes his run and then decide how to collect it?
Yeah, see, I think they should have waited. Like, that's the point. Like, there's other books that could release before this, and then decide. Even like it's a year later or something. Like, you don't have to do this right now. It could be a couple of years down the line.
Tom Taylor on some sort of, like, I don't know, like high right now. Where
he's an exclusive. Yeah, he's on an exclusive deal with DC. Maybe he's probably one of their higher earners. Probably has it in his contract to have these books coming out. He's got because
I feel like it's almost like a Scott Snyder thing where just anything with his name on it seems to get a hardcover.
I think so.
Same with
Steve has some, by the way, he must be eating his carrots. He has some really strong, powerful eyes there because he says it says volume 1 on the cover art. So well done. I couldn't see that.
Well, I always go to League of Comic Book Geeks for all my information, and it does state on there Nightwing Volume 1.
Volume 1, okay. But then, like I say, if it's going to be Nightwing Volume 2, it must contain some of the Titan stuff. There was a 1-shot or 2, then I think there may be 1 arc. Like a 6-issue arc that he had the Titans in Nightwing's book, and they were back and forth and all the rest of it. I don't know if there was an event.
I've never read any of the Titans stuff because the only reviews I've seen of it, people are just a bit meh. Like, so I just didn't bother.
Yeah, well, you may have to if you want to complete Tom Taylor's Nightwing run. You may have to dip into it.
I'll be very surprised if they put Titans into a Nightwing labelled book. I'll be very, very surprised. But I do think this might get delayed in favour of bulking the book out.
Am I wrong, by the way? Steve might know. Is there a current Justice League book where Nightwing's the leader? There's no Batman, Superman. I
No,
think it's led by
there's
Nightwing. No.
Justice League at the moment. There is no book, and there hasn't been
Okay.
for a while, for about 2 years. The
I
current
think
team that is leading the
Beast
DC
Board.
universe is the Titans.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that was the idea, but it's just never really
Picked up.
taken off.
Yeah. The Tom Taylor stuff, I quite enjoyed. I know again, like I know I watched your videos or I've seen your comments previously about Nightwing. It's very different.
I just
than
really
the
struggle with
Nightwing.
it. Like I think in the opposite way that people did with New 52, where New 52, every character was sort of like made gritty and they had to overcome lots of things and they had to fight back against the systems and so on and so forth. Like there was constant challenge, there was constant things for our characters to kind of prove themselves and build their personalities out. And I just feel that personally, the latest sort of like Batgirl with the Batgirl and the Batgirls feels like it's a bunch of 12-year-olds hanging out. It doesn't feel like a 40-year-old woman and two like 30-year-old women that she's training. And Nightwing feels like a kid's cartoon in a way. Like it feels really light-hearted. He's not having to really do anything major. Even the one sequence that I do remember where his entire block of apartments blows up, it's kind of just brushed off with another fun moment.
Because there's a point where
there's no stakes,
his half sister is the mayor of, I think, of Bloodhaven, and they're dealing with the criminal underworld, obviously. But like, it's not like I feel like there's no real threat or something.
There's no blockbuster, There's no big like thing going on. There's no Raptor like in the previous run. So like I'm lacking something. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, they have that character called Heartless who's just taking the hearts of like homeless people and stuff like that. But like even then, they're kind of drip feeding it in, building up to something. But I don't know if it ever reaches the height they intended to with it.
So I think that this era, whatever DC calls this era, is like a child-friendly era. This like in the way that I would have said New 52 would get in people maybe over 18. This era might get people in that are like younger teenagers that are not looking for quite so gritty a kind of story. But for people who have read Nightwing for a long period of time, I'm waiting for him to be challenged by something.
Yeah, I agree. But I haven't read Nightwing for a long time, but I'm still waiting for him to be challenged by something. But I have enjoyed this. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I haven't, but I do feel like it's lacking something. And just the way you put
it
there,
it's a visual masterpiece in some of the issues.
Oh, yeah,
but I wouldn't say the writing's as good.
Yeah, so Martin, this is the run where like the artist has done a few different issues of like trying to be a bit gimmicky. Like one of them's like a side scrolling Constance.
I've seen that. I think
like one shot type of thing.
I haven't read this myself. I know this has got a few nitpicks with the writing, but I've always heard positive things from Bruno Redondo's artwork.
The art's fantastic.
He's fantastic on the book.
And even if those kind of gimmicks don't always pay off, at least like I like the fact that they try it. But I do think they've paid off. There was another issue where it was all from Nightwing's point of view, like his POV type of thing. Not quite as good as the previous side-scrolling type of one, but still, like you're taking chances. You're doing something different. I quite like it, and the art it does look nice, very pleasant in the eyes.
Because that's a question that I think we'll have to ask nearer the time: is does this have a fold-out? Is that a fold-out issue? Are we going to get it in the omnibus where you can fold that whole thing out to read the one issue?
No, that'd be ridiculous.
But you doesn't want gimmicks in his books.
You don't know, do you? You might
28 pages of fold-out.
Well, technically speaking, yes, but there'll be two separate 14 ones. Like we open and then open that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they had it up in their office somewhere.
My comic book shop actually has it on the floor. They've got it laminated and it's now on the floor.
Yeah.
Whole issue.
Maybe that's why we're getting the omnibus now, because we're going to get half the book's going to be the fold out.
If they were to give you that in the back, like as not part of the book, but just like an extra, here's a fold out of that issue, that would be amazing.
That'd be good, yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. Because you couldn't read it as a fold out, I suppose, you're right. Like, how could you read it if it was a fold-out thing?
Yeah, if they were to give you it all on one side,
visually,
where you could like put it on a wall or something, that'd be amazing.
Excellent. So that's all the kind of ones we had the main spotlight off, really. I'll try and run through these a little bit quicker because I wanted to be 2 hours, and also we just hit the 2 hour mark now. So,
The scalped ones are really good value. They're going for about 45 quid or something.
It's good.
the oversized hardcovers,
The
Omni-
omnibus, the scalped omnibus,
45.
The volume one's about 45, 50 quid right now.
is there only going to be 2? Is there going to be 3? Isn't there
2 for the whole thing?
2 for the whole thing?
That's good.
I might nab them if they're that price. So yes, so volume 1, is it due to be out soon?
One's either out or coming out.
Okay. Well, I will grab that. Batman Nightfall. I haven't got the first one, so I'm not going to pick up this one. Is this one that you guys have any gaps for or anything at all?
Yes, I missed these first time. I know Volume 3 was always, and Volume 2 was always quite sought after. And when Volume 1 got reprinted, everyone was screaming for the next 2. So this is just confirming we're getting them. So,
well, is Volume 1 still available, or is it out of print?
yes, should be available. It's a big story. So I would.
I think I have the first.
Batman.
I think I have the compendium of it.
There was some thick compendiums over it.
The compendium of the first one. I might grab these if I can get number 1 for a decent price.
Nightfall's basically the arc that leads up to Battle for the Cowl. So it is kind of important, but I don't think it's necessarily something that I'd want to read over and over.
Yeah. Wonder Woman Golden Age, any interest?
Not for me. I love Wonder Woman, but I won't pick up the Golden Age Omnis. When I did all these screenshots, I tried to get every single omnibus, absolute, everything that's coming out. So just to give us an idea of everything that DC's bringing to the table.
Yeah. So Absolute Transmetropolitan.
That's on mine.
It's not something I've read. I know Chris off my shelves. I think he has it. The first 2. I think Adam pretty much has it too.
I know a lot of people that only have a couple of them because they were out of print, but I managed to put a set together a while ago now.
And there only is 3 of them, is there? Complete?
3. Yeah.
I've got
and
one
again,
or 2.
I think it's one of these stories like Injustice that if you're not like a diehard fan, you could get away with just volume 1. Like you don't have to read it to the end.
It's not something that's on my radar anyway. But who knows?
Just because if you want that experience, you get the experience in the first volume. The second and third volumes is really just playing out, the end game.
Yeah. Steve's waiting for he needs to pick up the volume 1 of I'm assuming Nightfall. He was waiting to see if volume 2 came back. So maybe there's only like 1 print left on like Books Etc's website, and it'll be me and him fighting over it. Who knows? Batman by Neil Adams. Again, it's not a run I'm familiar with. He was pre Frank Miller. Like, am I right in thinking?
I think so. Yeah, he's a big name. And he done a lot of famous artwork for Batman, which is why he got his own omnibus. And I think
the reason why I know
recently as well, didn't he? Or a few years
the reason
ago.
why I think he's in around that time period of Frank Miller was because Frank Miller gets the credit for making The Dark Knight, but Neil Adams is like, well, we done it as well,
Yeah.
So taken away from the kind of like 60s, what would you call that? That kind of like the Kapow and all that kind of stuff. Like,
Adam West. You're Adam West.
Adam West style Batman into the darker Batman. Frank Miller gets the credit, but I think Neil Adams always thought, well, we did it as well. So I might look into that myself. Legion of Superheroes. It's nothing I'm interested in.
I don't know much about it. I've never really been into Legion of Superheroes. As much as I collect as much as I can DC, it's not something I've dipped my toes into.
I don't know what that collects, but I would actually like to have Legion of Superheroes that crossed over with Supergirl.
There are
there's an earlier Kara story that at issue like 40 or something, it becomes Supergirl and Legion of Superheroes.
Yeah,
and I would want to collect that.
Yeah, well, there's another deluxe coming on the list. I think something Legion of Superheroes as well, but it could be Supergirl stuff. I'm not sure. But
yeah, it's complicated because they only really get short bursts where they're kind of popular and then kind of disappear.
Absolute Green Lantern, the Sinestro Core War. I think was it Alad or what Steve said earlier.
Yeah, that's the other main run outside of the sort of like the green and the core run is the Sinestro and the red.
Yeah, I think these are connected in the Jeff Johns Omnis.
What's that?
This is collected in the Jeff Johns Omnis.
Okay.
But obviously it's getting that.
Absolutely true.
Yeah, oversized kind of
Patrick Gleason.
Yeah.
Doom Patrol. Not for
Not
me.
one for me.
Batman Golden Age again. Great, it's coming out if you collect that. But it's not for
I
me.
feel like Promethea has been reprinted a few times and it's never really sold as well as they've expected.
Keep pumping it out then.
Yeah, I think it's an Alan Moore. There's quite a few Alan Moore books coming up.
Yeah.
And I think maybe
I just don't know anybody who's like a diehard Promethea fan. Like, does
Yeah, I know what you mean. Martin, I think you want to talk about this one from the DC Fault, Death in the Family. Robin Lives.
I specifically pulled this one because I've seen this been released as a single issue recently. This is going to be a story of. Do you remember when they killed Jason Todd and they put the vote out to the US and they chose whether he'd
That's the
lived or
alternative
died?
version.
This is if he lived.
Right.
So this is a bit of history. You know,
did
this
they
is
not include? I thought they included that in the deluxe recently. Did they not?
I'm not sure. But
I'd have to check. But I got like a.
You're talking Red Hood. Red Hood Deluxe.
Yeah.
I'll have to check.
Like
We're
not like the Under the Hood one, but like there was like a Death in the Family one that I'm pretty sure had both things in it.
We'll check it in a bit. I've got it to hand. We'll check it in a bit. But yeah, I pulled this one because I thought it's a bit of history. If it hasn't been released, it's definitely something that's worth looking at.
I mean, it'd be a cool thing to have as a separate issue that you could kind of show. I've always thought about getting like some issues, and I don't know if this is like sacrilege to some people, but I would actually like to take like the comic arc page, like whatever my favorite page is, and then put that in like one of my like slab holder things so that you can see the comic arc page, not the front cover, because I actually have certain pages in books that I just really like, and I don't think they ever get shown.
Do you ever watch Larry's Library on YouTube?
I have maybe once or twice.
The reason I bring him up because he does something I would never think of. He like does his own scans of art he loves. So he's making the digital prints himself once he gets them printed or whatever. And he uses them for his videos a lot, but just think like it's never something I thought about, like having like a high resolution scan of a book good enough to kind of print out. So instead of maybe ripping them, you could rip them out. You could obviously scan something and maybe pay to get the print you want.
Sounds cool.
An idea.
I meant more just fold over the book. Just literally fold a single issue and just literally just put that page to the front.
Yeah. Well, that's always an option too. That doesn't make you have to buy a scanner and pay for.
Yeah, because like it would bend back the fold a little bit, you know, but it wouldn't actually damage any of the pages.
Yeah. Just don't do it with an expensive book.
Yeah.
Just get like some key and break it open.
This is Legion of Superheroes 5 years later. It's Mark Waid. I don't know if that ties into your Supergirl stuff you mentioned prior.
That's probably closer to the right era.
Yeah. Again, I don't know nothing about Legion of Superheroes other than that kind of TV show they tried to put out a few years back.
Yeah, I mean, as far as actual Legion members, I probably only heard of maybe 2 or 3, and I couldn't recite them.
Tom Taylor, Dark Knights of Steel Deluxe. So this will cover all 12 issues of this kind of medieval take on the heroes, which I really enjoyed reading it in singles. But I say that because I kind of forget because it's been that long since I actually read it.
I bought the first 2 or 3 singles, and then I held off because I didn't know how they were collecting it. I think they did like a triple issue in a trade, and then they did a normal trade, and then or like a hardcover, or then a trade, or something like that. And this is what I've been waiting for, basically, is for them just to collect it all together.
Yeah,
I've got the 2 hardcovers, but I'll probably sell them in favor of this.
Yeah, well, I have the singles, but I'll still buy this because I'm having the shelf, and that'll be the reading copy, so to speak. Yeah. Green Lantern, can't imagine any interest here. The Silver Age stuff. The Nightwing, Prince of Gotham, stays and he's grabbing it. He always regrets selling it. HighlandG, you had that? Do you still have it, or have you sold it?
I hadn't sold my copy as well. I still got the Grayson one, but I don't have the Nightwing one anymore. And again, it's
the Nightwing and Grayson, they go together, don't they?
They're like the 2 halves in New 52.
Yeah.
And
well, if you want to get it again,
yeah,
there you go.
This is the first half, but like, I would only be having it to have a complete collection on my shelf. Like having reread it, I don't think it reads great by itself without the other Bat family. So, and I'm not going to read all the omnibuses together. So similarly, I sold the Batgirl omnibus of the same era. The only one I've really kept is the Red Hood one and the Harley Quinn ones because they kind of stand alone.
Yeah. Nightwing isn't the character for me. I mean, I like it for what I've read so far, but I don't think I'm going to jump onto that. Although the Grayson stuff sounds really good.
Yeah, I mean, I think Grayson stuff will align more with the sort of humor and lightheartedness of the sort of Tom Taylor stuff you've been reading.
Okay.
But if you go to this is going to be like, this is darker than like any normal Nightwing.
Is this obviously this is New 52, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's New 52,
So that's going to be pretty much the Court of Owls are going to be heavily involved in this.
Yeah, well, it ties in with all the Batman events. Yeah. So it's going to tie in with all that kind of stuff. The Court of Owls, the Death of the Family stuff, all that kind of stuff. It'll tie into until, as I said, basically he becomes Agent Grayson, and then his tie-ins will be him in the Agent Grayson outfit rather than in the Nightwing outfit. But he's a lot more fun as Agent Grayson than he is as Red Nightwing.
And Grayson's still currently available if people want it.
And there's a soft spot for this run. One of the first comics he bought and really enjoyed it.
Cool.
So I really enjoyed the first time I read through it. As I say, it's just not something that I'm going to read a third or fourth time.
Superman Final Crisis Legion of Three Worlds. I have no idea. Again, Jeff Johns and George Perez kind of will get me interested enough anyway. But I don't know where that ties in, how that ties in.
No, nor do I. Be interested
again which crisis is where, to be honest.
Yeah, it's just that team that makes me kind of want to see where it kind of falls.
I don't think there's anything actually solicited under this for contents. So yeah, I'm interested as well.
Red Hood and the Outlaws. I am assuming this gets you excited because I think, do you own that? You both own this, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
But you were busting for the Volume 2.
Yes.
You kind of think if they're redoing this, the Volume 2 is more likely to come down the line.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd hope so, because I mean the thing that confuses me, and I'd say I'm the opposite to what I've heard in the kind of sphere of people talking kind of thing, is that for me the run that's out is the best part of the run, right? I enjoy him with Arsenal and with Starfire and all the sexuality and everything that comes along with that, right? I think that is the best part of the run for me, and if they ended it there and they'd never continued it, that would have been totally fine. But most people that I hear from, their favorite part of the run is the Artemis Bizarro part, in which case, if that's what DC's hearing, why don't we have the second book?
Maybe we will.
But this is the thing.
It may be 2026 before we get it.
And then the end of the run's a little bit of a mess for everybody. You know, we've all got to admit that it kind of jumps a bit all over the place.
It jumps to Red Hood Arsenal as well.
At one point, so this part ends. You get Red Hood Arsenal, then you get the sort of Dark Trinity, and then you get a last arc which tries to tie them all back together again. And at one point, like Red Hood becomes the head of like all the bad guys in like a mafia type suit.
Yeah, because they change the wording of the book to just Outlaws at some point.
Red Hood Outlaw.
Yeah, so it was Red Hood Outlaws, then Red Hood Arsenal, then Red Hood Outlaw, and then it went back to Red Hood and the Outlaws to finish.
So what's the run Steve's talking about? The Rebirth one, is that
the next one after the
Rebirth
second
one is the Bizarro Artemis part. But as I said, it was all one writer, so Lobdell wrote the whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay, I get you now. Yeah. Okay. This is one I was talking about earlier on, HighlandG, that we all enjoyed in the Nerd Herd Book Club. Superman Up in the Sky, which I'm buying this because I'm adamant this is a really, really good book. Very different Superman to what I'm used to in terms of like he just travels the galaxy trying to find this little girl who was kidnapped. And it's like 6 issues, but each issues like him encountering a different kind of planet, different kind of story. But each time getting closer to where the girl kind of is. So I remember you guys were discussing it. I was like, it's a bit too haphazard, a bit too jumpy, but intentional in my opinion. I think I just think it showed a different side of Superman. He was willing to abandon Earth in search of this one little girl because she held on to this hope that he would come and save her. And
I think if DC are going to do a deluxe edition, I think I'll give it a reread. I think it deserves a reread to see if it reads differently second time
Andy
round.
Kubert's art's really good as well.
Yeah, could it be a case of it's Tom King? So are they just printing it because it's a Tom King book? But I will give it a second read because if it is better on the second read and I read it wrong first time round.
To give some context in terms of each issue seemed very different. There was one issue where you had a boxing match with like some random alien on this planet. and because if he won the boxing match, he would get information of where to go next. So there are parts of it that are a wee bit kind of silly and a bit far fetched, I suppose, in that respect. But again, my thing was he wasn't giving up and finding this little girl, and every bit of evidence, every clue he was getting him one step closer, and I really enjoyed it.
But see, I think I'd rather have those little jumps than have like a 40-issue book with all the filler in between.
Yeah.
You know, I'd rather have it be like, these are the key things that he had to overcome in order to save this one life, to prove that all life is worth no more than one life.
That's
you know,
what
and,
I think.
and,
You know,
and I think that's fine. You know,
Phil looks happy because I think that's what he was trying to portray at the time.
Yeah,
but I think I think we were just all read it and went, "It's
for you
crap."
guys on that stream that night trying to convince you how good this was." But sure, it's But yeah, it was one of those ones that Walmart had done like a random run of Batman and Superman. Tom King was on Batman, and
oh, I remember that. Yeah,
this maybe on
or
Superman, and they kind of swapped the two creators to make this random 6-issue run. I enjoyed it. I'll pick this up. I'll upgrade my singles.
So it's technically not in the canon of things, then it's just its own little thing.
No, it's a one-off.
Yeah, it's a one-off, so it's not. You don't need to worry about.
That's good.
Any prior stuff. So yeah, I'm getting that. Suicide Squad by John Ostrander, I think.
I think it's Ostrander.
Ostrander.
Know nothing about it. Is it a big figure of you guys at all?
The only thing I know is the name, because he wrote the Star Wars book that I really like, which is Star Wars Legacy.
That's I heard it's a good one. Yeah. I think it's getting reprinted. I think.
Can't say it's one for me.
It's the only one that hasn't been reprinted so far, basically, of the earlier stuff.
I think it is due. Did I hear an announcement?
It's basically about a Skywalker way down the line kind of thing that's kind of like giving up any connections to any kind of Jedi or Sith, and his journey to find his place in the world kind of thing. And you get to learn about the one Sith, and you get to learn about like the difference between the Knights and the Jedi Order, and it splits all the different things out rather than the way in the films that all kind of joined together to be like just two main factions. And it's really interesting book. But I've got the mini Dark Horse omnibuses, so if they're getting reprinted in full size, I'd love that.
I'm pretty certain that it is getting reprinted. I think Omar announced that recently. Like the Dark Horse stuff's got. Well,
I think they are. They're printing all the Dark Horse stuff, aren't they?
So that could be coming. Steve saying everyone raves about this Suicide Squad run.
Or maybe it's worth a look.
Maybe worth looking into it more.
Yeah.
Another Legion of Superheroes, the Cursed Deluxe Edition. Again, I don't know where that falls in the kind of.
This is too many names, man.
Yeah. So that wouldn't be for me, but. Absolute Superman Red Sun. I will be grabbing this because I love Red Sun. I think it's
me too.
Book.
What an
I don't remember
amazing story.
The art being overly fantastic. So the fact that we're getting the absolute.
I think this was one of your choices, Phil, when we read it.
I think I picked it. Yeah, but I can't remember. I can't remember the art being like, you know. I'm sure it looks lovely. I can't remember being like drop dead gorgeous. Like I need to have this in oversized, but I'm going to get it.
It could just be a very topical time that they think it'll sell.
Yeah. To be honest, I found this is one of the favourite Superman books I'd read. I thought Mark Miller killed this. It was brilliant.
But I think Mark Miller is a good writer because he's not overly complex. He's not trying to Mark Miller would be one of my favourites, just even through his DC, Marvel, and his indie stuff, because he just tells a good story.
He does.
He's not trying to put too much complicated stuff that makes no sense. And the other thing, he doesn't kind of. If he's doing something kind of like, say, scientific or whatever, like the characters, are doing something, he doesn't explain what that is. He's just telling you, this is the story I'm telling. I'm telling you what they're doing. That's it. Whereas I think some people try to explain it too much, and he doesn't do that. That's why I like Mark Miller.
I like show not tell. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. He is that. He's not interested in trying to make you know the ins and outs of how things work. He just tells a good story. Cosmic Odyssey. No idea what that is.
No.
Is that Darkseid on the cover? I think
it looks like it. Doesn't it? Yeah.
I mean, Superman. James Starlin and Magnola. That's
the Magnola art would maybe have me interested, but
it's big creator names, but it also seems like older names.
Yeah.
Say 200 pages as well. So it's only a short thing.
Yeah. And then Superman: The Golden Age. I might grab this just because it's the origin. It's the kind of. I'm assuming it's going to be Superman fighting in World War II, wasn't it? Yeah, World War II. I think I'm going to grab this just to have. But I'm not going to need forever long. I'll get this and I'll read it and see if I enjoy it. But I'm not looking to get the volume 2, 3, 4 onwards. I just might just grab this one.
It's another reason why I screen grabbed this one, because I think it's so nice to see that DC are not only double downing on new stuff, they're double downing on like 90s stuff as well as original stuff. They're covering every aspect,
and they're filling
of their
gaps too.
history.
Like the Batman ones and Wonder Woman, they weren't volume 1s; they were 2 and 3. So they're just filling gaps. Whereas this is the number 1. So I think if I was going to jump on board some Golden Age stuff, they're not giving me the opportunity. But I do like
Did the original Superman read as one story, or was it just separate issues that are their own thing?
I think they're separate issues, but I could be completely wrong. That's only because I'm assuming the same as Spider-Man almost, where they had maybe 1 or 2 issues in as one story. But generally speaking, you did need to read like a whole run to get like.
I know. Yeah, I'm just thinking like as far as like continuity, I'm pretty sure Marvel's the first one that kind of like really took that up. I feel like a lot of early comics were just like standalone issues.
Yeah.
I might skip this book, but I'm liking DC's Finest range they're bringing out, which is basically DC's version of the Epic collections. And I think Superman is one of the ones that's coming out first.
If they'd done that, I would grab that instead.
Yeah, because I think for me, I don't want to go too deep in on the Golden Age, especially with the Omnis, because you're looking at 10, 11 Omnis.
Yeah, I just want a taste of it almost. That's all I want.
Yeah, I think
DC's
just get
like a deluxe of the first like 10 issues or something. Like,
yeah.
Well, DC's Finest is a trade paperback size of the Epic collections, which we will dive into the
like
probably be perfect for you. Yeah, could be perfect for you, Phil.
Yeah, I might just be glad instead. Then just again, it's just they get a taste rather than the actual need to read a complete run, just to get a taste of it, So yeah. The Spectre, the Wrath of the Spectre. Again.
I'll be in on that.
Oh really?
Yeah, but like the Spectre, I am gutted. I missed this first time round. It was a very quick release, and then it went. It got released around the same time as the Dead Man Omnibus. I picked up the Dead Man Omnibus, and I missed this one, and I've regretted it since. So it's such a nice thing to see it being reprinted. So I'll be grabbing this. So
who is the Spectre in this?
This is the original. This is the original Spectre run. And it's not actually. I don't think it's actually the Spectre like solo series. It's when he first sort of got introduced. So it's a mixture of different series, sort of telling his origin. It's same as what they did with the Dead Man Omnibus.
But the Spectre is a person, so he must have a name.
I don't know.
Okay.
Because the Spectre has changed hands a few times.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I was just wondering which, where it was kind of like.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure.
I've only ever really read the Spectre tying into other books rather than it being a Spectre title. It's always been something that's like been intriguing to me.
My experience with the Spectre is more modern. So this is why I'm gutted I missed this, because I wanted to really find out more about the origins of the Spectre. And this is the prime opportunity to do it. So now when this comes out, I'll dive into it then.
The DC Universe by Steve Ditko. Any interest there? Again, Steve Ditko, obviously synonymous with Spider-Man. But I can't speak of any of his DC work that I really know, to be honest.
I don't tend to go into books like this. If I'm being honest, they're not my thing. I like going for canon universe type stuff.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of thing that like a specific maybe artist or something might want to pick up to look at.
Yeah. Comic Bounce managed to sneak back in for a bit. Just come to see what all the Omnifuss is about. We're 2 hours 23 minutes in, and we still haven't worked it out yet. But we've done a show a few times, and we've never worked it out. That's the beauty of it. We never do. Deceased Omnibus again. I have the standard hardcovers. I don't know if I want the Omnibus, especially now with the way HighlandG described earlier on. We're like, once you've read it, like, are you really going to read it again?
I mean, I just feel that with these kind of books that you'll have a favorite, and when you do get a favorite, that's the one you'll want to keep.
And the thing was too, they brought the deluxe out for volume 1, and I would have been happy to upgrade my standard hardcovers to the deluxes for each series. But I don't know if I want to do it for an omnibus. I don't know why. It's just something would stop me.
I don't know. For me, I'm torn because I like the way the standard hardcovers look on the shelf. They look really nice.
They're good. Yeah.
But let's see how I feel come June. Let's see what happens. Let's see what the actual finished artwork looks like and see if something that I would want to upgrade to.
I mean, if you're going to go back to it, if you feel the need to go back to it, then maybe upgrade. But if you don't feel the need to go back to it, then maybe just leave them on their shelf because you've already got them.
Yeah, just got to see where it is.
Adam, they are nice hardcovers, and the further story is actually quite good. But again, it's like I do kind of agree with HighlandG saying, like, once you read them, how many times can you really go back to it? You've got the moments, you got the shocking moments, they got the stuff that they want you to take out of it. Does it have legs for multiple rereads? I don't know.
And it's just something I have to think about all the time because I have very limited space to keep my stuff. I don't have like a separate room for all my kind of things to be kind of growing in. I only have a certain amount of space to kind of store stuff in. So from that perspective, my library is an active read library, and if I'm not going to read it, I simply don't have the space or funds to keep the book, so it has to go and cover the next thing.
Don't get me wrong, if I got the omnibus, I would read it from cover to cover again, just to have maybe my third or fourth reread of the whole series. But
and any book I've sold, I have read through. It's just that I'm not going to keep reading it again and again, because I might have read some of these books, say a few issues in singles, and then read the whole thing through in trades, and then bought it in omnibus and read the whole thing through in omnibus. What's really the odds that I'm going to reread it again at that point?
See, my thing with Deceased as well, so I have it in single issues, but I have pretty much every cover that was free to order on Diamond or whatever at the time. So it's like covers A, B, C, D, like 4 covers for every issue. Because there's a lot of Martina stuff in there. There's a lot of so Martina was big and stuff, and like there's a lot of like horror movie homage covers and stuff. And so I have every single issue, multiple variants. I have the standard hardcovers. I would have bought the deluxe had I thought. Huh?
Do you display them in any way, or are they just in a box somewhere?
No. They're in these boxes somewhere behind me.
They're kept, looked after.
I'm going to sell them. I think I'm looking to sell my single issues. I'm actually looking to get out of the single issue game altogether. Don't you want to buy a collection? No, do you want to buy it's about 4,500 books there? Don't want to buy them. No.
I struggle with the few single issues I have.
I'm the same as you. I like my single issues for CGC and for sign-ins and stuff like that. But I think outside of that, I'm not really fussed about having a big, large collection. I like my certain cover artists, so I think I'll be happy with 1 or 2 short boxes of like particular like Jenny Frison and like Joshua Middleton and stuff like that. Just books that I like from them.
I think what I'll do is I'll have a few boxes of certain runs, like Batman New 52. And I've got some signed by Snyder. I'll keep it as a run. Some of my Venom stuff, I'll keep it as a run. There's a few other things I'll keep as single issues, and then obviously the ones that are like covers I like, maybe some CGCs. But generally speaking, I just want to kind of get rid of these now. And
that's kind of how I got to. So I have the original X-23 run in single issues, and I have, I think, maybe a few specific like Ed Brubaker single issues that he didn't do like trades for things. And then outside of that, it's really just books that I've been rotating on my walls for display. They're not there for value. They're not keys. They're literally just, I like this picture and it's, £3 to buy this picture, so I bought it. I'm not buying it as a comic.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah. I need to have a rejig before I'm the same as you. I'm limited space now. I think if I was to get rid of the boxes behind me, let's say there's certain books I would upgrade to like a hardcover or deluxe or something, it will take up a lot less room. So that's where my mind is at the minute. But what scares me is the work I have to put in to sell these. So
well, I mean, that's where it's difficult, and that's why I tried to make videos a while back about how I'm offloading my kind of stuff to various things, because there's the effort versus the payoff. If you go through speaking to individual people one at a time, or you go on eBay and slowly list things and they slowly sell over time, and you're just like reducing the collections slowly but consistently, those things will get you more money, but it will take much longer time. If you use one of these sort of like buy all kind of apps, or you go to a shop and say, you want to buy my whole collection, you're going to lose a significant chunk.
Yeah, they're going to offer like 20p an issue or something,
And then there's always going to be ones that just nobody wants that you're probably going to have to
Yeah.
give to charity. You know,
And
so
that's
you're
the
gonna
risk.
lose.
That's the risk the buyer's taking. Is that, you know, if they have this resale with their shop or something, they don't want to hold on to it for too long. So that's why they offer 20p or 10p an issue. And it's just, I'll maybe sell some on eBay and see where it gets me.
So I do
To be
real issues
to be
with
fair,
myself.
Phil,
I've been reselling. I've been selling more collected editions, but I believe that it's just as easy to do if you're using things like Whatnot.
yeah,
I thought about that too.
Phil, to be honest, like you've got a lot of Batman. You know, I've seen a Batman #1 go on Whatnot from Snyder, like first print, go for 60 quid.
And I
You
have
know,
I have three full runs of that.
and that's what I'm saying. You've got a good, you know, you've got a good bit of money there. Maybe it's worth, you know,
Yeah,
just
I think even
assessing what you've got and seeing what's valuable, and then you got to put the work in to get the most out
yeah,
of
that's
it.
the thing. Even like indie stuff, I've got a few indies. I think I've got a couple indies. I've got at least one listed on eBay, and I've no bites because it's on to test the waters. But I've a few indies drafted on eBay to see. But maybe I'm just asking too much money for them. Maybe I just need to lower the price and just see them go. And but anyway, it's just, I mean,
Well, I mean, what I usually do with eBay is whenever I'm relisting something, so I like list it whenever the offer's on, like 70% off or whatever.
yeah.
And then when I'm doing the relisting, I'll do a search for like sold. So whatever the most recent sold value is, and I'll, you know, if I'm above that, I'll try and come closer to it, and that way you're edging towards, you know, a better sale
But
price.
I do something similar with that. Anything I've sold recently on eBay, like I'm going after the month's over, and I go to relist it or sell similar to in the offer. I look at the solds. I'm thinking, this one's sold, but it's more expensive than mine. I'm like, where was my listing hidden in that search? Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, obviously,
Yeah, I mean, it also depends on what you've allowed on your listing, like if you're shipping to certain countries or if you've got the international shipping
I
program
don't do
on.
global shipping program or anything like that. No.
So like I do the global shipping program because I find it much easier than any international stuff. All you have to do is ship it to England. And actually, when I ship it to England, I don't even have to do it necessarily tracked because I'm not doing it to the buyer. So I can actually post it cheaper. And then any of the extra money gets charged between eBay and the buyer. I don't ever see it. Like they do the shipment on from England.
I look into that. It might boost sales. But
I find that much easier for international stuff. And also the benefit if you do that and eBay has tracking your stuff on it is that if it goes missing, not only do they refund the buyer, but you keep the money. So they make the loss and not you.
That's interesting. I need to look into it more. I think, I mean, like, because Steve said he's not had any offers on his stuff for a while. I've sold.
I mean, it come in dribs and drabs. Like,
yeah, that's why I think
I've been selling
selling
the Power Rangers
smaller value items than it.
I bought like a whole bunch of the Power Rangers figures recently, the 3-0 ones, because somebody was selling the entire set. And they were selling them for a reasonable price, and I got them to bring it down even further so that I got each figure for below the retail price. And I've sold every one that I've sold that I don't want so far for about 20 quid over the retail price. And I'm just keeping the ones that I want to keep. Like I do that whenever I have, like, if you have like a small pot of money in your collection that you can kind of do that with, then you can kind of get things cheaper by not buying the one thing that's really rare by itself at some stupid price. You buy the collection and then you sell off the stuff that you don't want, and you get it down to the stuff that you want. And so recently I had someone message me just saying, like, if you'll put the postage together, I'll buy 3 of them. And they literally just bought 3 of the figures off me today. And I hadn't had a sale in like over a week.
Yeah, it definitely comes in dribs and drabs. And I find too, like, stuff that you've got listed for ages and you've relisted for months and months, out of nowhere just sells, and you're thinking, I'll never sell that, and then bang, it just goes. It's like,
it just has to be the right person looking for it at the time.
That's what it is. But eBay, it's just frustrating, hit packing stuff up. Well, anyway, we'll go back to this. Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen. I read this in trade. It's not one I would overly recommend. I think the art was nice. Steve Lieber, I think it's pronounced.
I heard it's a funny run.
It is. It's a hard one. What I didn't like is the repetitiveness of it, and I say that not remembering exactly, but I remember thinking that every issue was very similar. It's like 12 issues.
Was it just like Jimmy gets into some kind of problem and Superman has to help him?
Story of his life, isn't it?
So it's kind of about, he turns it out without Superman, but Superman's off in the background, kind of almost like pulling the strings, so to speak. It is funny, but it's just I can't say it didn't end overly satisfying. It's like I remember thinking when I read it, that's it. Like it was good, but it wasn't that good.
Yeah,
So if
I
it's
mean, I think some
cheap-
side characters maybe just stay side characters.
Yeah.
Yeah. If it's cheap and you fancy a quick, cheap read,
Well, I don't
Maybe.
sell that many comics. It's one I read and I sold straight away because I
Okay,
knew I
that's-
wouldn't reread it. So
that
that's
says a
right.
lot.
Yeah.
League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I might nab this. I don't know much about it, but again, it's the Alan Moore name. It's an absolute. This and the DC, the New Frontier. I think I'm going to grab these two.
I think I have New Frontier. Yeah, I've got New Frontier. Absolute. So
They went out of print a long time ago.
Yeah.
I think
Flex
of all that,
Mentallo.
probably the Flex Mentallo would be the one that I'd have an interest in, just because I like weird Grant Morrison books, and I'm not so into the over sort of writing, I guess, of Alan Moore with the the narration boxes and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. But Flex Mentallo, I don't know who it is. He looks medieval. I was thinking, is it like the guy who's
I think he crosses into his Animal Man run.
Okay.
Is where I've seen him.
Nothing about the character, but again, it's weird and it's Grant Morrison. So,
but I think he's just like a super strong guy that can like literally flex literally anything. Like talking about Grant Morrison worlds that could probably flex like the actual comic pages.
Right. Grant Morrison's a hard one to like. I think
hit and miss.
Yeah, I think he's definitely hit and miss.
I think is it Filth is the only one that I didn't really like.
Oh, did he not do the one? And it was like a space one where it's like
we read it.
What?
We read it.
Yeah, we read it.
By Morrison. It blew our minds for how weird it was.
And it was about
Facebook.
something like, it was like God was on the like some sort of alien was on the spaceship or something, and they had to determine should they destroy it before it hits Earth or something on the lines. But it was like God was like controlling it or something.
It was strange.
It was a
You
strange.
have to tell me what it was called.
What was that called? Something nameless.
That's it. That's it.
Nameless.
I remember it looked really good, but it was freaky.
Yeah, okay.
He's all about the occult and stuff, isn't he? He's all into that kind of aspect of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, he's very open. Like, I wouldn't necessarily say like when you first look at Grant Morrison, you kind of again you think sort of Alan Moore things, but Alan Moore and thing like maybe identifies as like a wizard or whatever. Grant Morrison's more like interested in a lot of things. So he's interested in things like witchcraft, and he's interested in paganist things, and he's into like trippiness of things, and he's into all these different stuff. And I think the Invisibles actually covers that the best, because like each of the characters kind of accompanies different parts of himself being interested in different things. And one like talks about a world purely made of like words, and one's like purely made of numbers, and they start breaking all these different kind of things down. But I think if you're to truly understand the way he thinks, you have to kind of start with Animal Man, and then you have to kind of progress towards Invisible. Once you understand, and you've read several times Invisibles, I feel like you could then understand almost anything that he's written. But if you try and jump into any of the weird things first, you're just not going to fully comprehend where he's coming from, because he does some really weird, to the average person, takes. Well, and
you say all these things he's into. One of the things he's into is mushrooms.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Very much into mushrooms when he was writing Nameless, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Comic Bound is saying Flex Mentallo was great, but not for everyone. Odd that they credited Frank Quietly with his real name. Not seen that before. I didn't know this. It's Vincent Deegan. Is that his real name? Is that what he said?
Must be.
Must be.
There we go.
Not sure if it was one for me though, personally.
Like I say, I think because if I remember, I think Comic Bound talked one time before about reading Animal Man. So I think if you've read Animal Man, it may be something if you're into that kind of part of it.
Yeah, but I feel Grant Morrison's in a range, and it's what you kind of like. And I say Animal Man is like less than Deadpool, kind of breaking the fourth wall. Okay. It's there, but it's it's more just about him kind of calling out the writer a little bit, rather than like completely breaking the fourth wall of what's going on in the world outside of his book. But you go into like the Invisibles, and as I said, like it's the complete other end of that. Like you can have worlds turning on worlds and how things kind of work, and if you don't have a base understanding of how his mind tells these stories, then you're going to find that difficult. Like I don't think the stories are overly complicated, and I disagree with all the people that say you've got to read like 40 books before reading one of his books to understand all the different things he's referencing. You just need to understand how he speaks, and once you have that, you can read any of his books.
Still, it's not for me.
And he's a weird guy. I've listened to some long talks and stuff on YouTube of Grant Morrison. He's a weird guy.
Aye, definitely. Is he Glasgow? Is he local to where you would be? Where is he at?
He would have been Glasgow, I believe. Yeah, as opposed to I'm in Aberdeen. But
John Constantine, Hellblazer by Jamie Delano. Not something I'm aware of in terms of who that Jamie Delano is, but John Constantine, I do love.
Yeah, same here.
I just kind of wanted to do Hellblazer start to finish rather than individual creators. It's kind of confusing as to where the run starts.
Yeah, well, was it Garth Ennis?
There's a bunch of Garth Ennis ones, yeah.
But this is the thing. I don't recall seeing a Jamie Delano Omnibus Volume 1. So does this carry on from something else?
Because I've always been interested in reading the Hellblazer run of things, as opposed to reading like Swamp Thing and stuff. It's something that's appealed a lot more, like the Lucifer books as well. I'd like to read, but I just have no idea how to enter the Hellblazer world. Like, where do you start?
Yeah, I agree. And when I say I love John Constantine, I mean like the books and the stories he's been in, and like cameos almost,
Well, that's kind of like what I was saying with some other characters. Like I've seen them in other books, but not in their own title as such.
I think if you really wanted to dive into John Constantine from the very beginning, you'd have to pick him up from Swamp Thing. That's when he makes his first appearance.
Yeah,
but I've read Swamp Thing.
Was that during Alan Moore's run, or
what comes after that?
Without checking, you have to check when we have to have a look, see when he appeared into what he jumped into after.
Because I have a feeling it was all like they'd done it in like complete collections or something. You could get it that way, but I don't think they've ever collected it in a reasonable way in omnibus or hardcover.
Yeah, Comic Bound's glad to see that New Frontier is being kept available.
I feel like New Frontier and what's the other one? There's like two books that are constantly kind of coming in and out of print that are very similar.
Kingdom Come, yeah.
Yeah, well, New Frontier is one that I keep kind of missing out on whenever they bring it in, and then because for being honest, it doesn't. That's what never seems to drop quite cheap. Like Killing Joke obviously is a short book, so you usually pick it up for like £25. I grabbed it for, but I've seen other absolutes around £40. I'm pretty certain every time New Frontier comes out, you're talking 70, 80.
It's Darwin Cook, mate.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That's why.
I might just bite the
no one's selling their copies off, so then you're not getting.
Yeah, this is true. Steve says the volume 1 of Hellblazer comes out 15th of October. Is it Jamie Delano? That's the question. And who is Jamie Delano?
I mean, as long as it is Hellblazer 1 and that is actually volume 1, then that's a good thing.
Yeah. This is the last. The Authority Omnibus 1 and 2. Is it Grant Morrison?
I saw this. I didn't know they needed a second omnibus. I thought it was all in the first one. Am I missing something?
I assume this is only being done because of the movie, potentially, because they've already said, don't they? They're making an Authority movie, so doubling. I keep saying it, doubling down. They're going to give us the omnis now, and this is the best.
Yeah, but I thought Authority was just 2 short runs by different creators, and that was all in the one omnibus.
I thought there was one omnibus, but. Yeah,
and then there was, because there's like Superman and the Authority and stuff like that. It's like short runs,
unless
they're not part of the main run.
And then maybe want to include it all under.
Because they had absolutes as well, where it was like 2 books of the Authority, and that did the entire story.
It's not what I know about. Is Grant Morrison on the Authority at one stage? Is Grant Morrison one of the creators?
By the look of it, you've got a lot of it. So you've got the original Wildstorm.
I think it's Mark Miller and somebody else does a run on the Authority.
The original Wildstorm run goes on for 40 odd issues. And
Who's
then
that
you've got
by?
that is by Warren Ellis.
Warren Ellis, that's it. Yeah. So Warren Ellis starts it, and I'm pretty sure Mark Miller finished it.
So the 2003 run is written by Robbie Morrison, and that goes for 14 issues. There's another one in 2006, another one in 2008, but these are like 3 issues, 31 issues. Yeah. They could squeeze 2 omnibuses out of this, I reckon.
Well, they are. Yeah. That's me. I got the impression there was maybe like a few random like mini-series kind of.
But they're counting over 2,500 pages.
Right. This second omnibus, it collects the Authority Revolution 1 and 2, 4 to 12, Stormwatch, Team Achilles, 4 to 6, 20. It looks like mini-series.
So it's just a whole bunch of mop-up.
Yeah. Then there's another one, the Authority 1 to 14. So it could be these extra ones.
Okay.
Again, one-shots, mini-series, just a mixture of stuff.
Because, I mean, other than reading the Authority itself, the only thing that I've ever read Midnighter in is in the various Nightwing books when they kind of cross over. And I really like Midnighter as a character.
Yeah. But see the way you mentioned earlier on, Martin, that this for the movie, like, the movie's been confirmed, hasn't it?
Yes.
I've heard nothing. The way you're seeing snippets of like Superman and stuff, are they actively still
in the advertisement of it?
Don't forget, when they made their announcement that the DC Studios was doing their thing, he actually put out a video, didn't he? And he covered all the different things that he's interested in.
He loves this run, doesn't he?
He made a point of saying that this was one of them, but he did say he's starting with Superman, and then he's going to be bringing out an animated movie of Creature Commandos, which has just been released as a trailer. I think this could be the following. So maybe this could be 2026, 2027. We might see something of the Authority, but laying the foundations now with a few omnibuses gets people knowing who they are.
Well, this is what I was going to say. It might be something if it does have to get closer to the time the movie's kind of talked about, it will probably pick a lot of people's interest. Because I don't know what the Authority is, but if I know there's a movie coming out, I'd be tempted to.
I mean, they're basically just an Extreme Justice League. Like Midnighter has like a sort of precognitive ability, so he can basically do everything that Cassandra Cain can do in body language, reading what you can do, but also on a precognitive level, he can tell the future before it's going to happen, and then he's better than Batman. So basically, he was made to be the best Batman. And then I'm forgetting what the sort of like flying sun guy is, but again, he's like a super-powered OP Superman type.
I might look more into this myself.
And then you've got some other members of the team that are more kind of along the lines of like the boys, and so you've got this kind of like ragtag kind of like team. They're not the most PC, and I think about halfway through the run, they have the main 2 characters are kind of a couple together, as an overall kind of thing. But I love Midnighter's character. See, I was reading one of the Batman Eternal books today, just kind of finishing it off, and there was like a tail end part of the book where like they're all fighting against this mother character, and they've got like these sort of like Cassandra Cain type assassins, and they're all in this sort of like area. And Midnighter's been told like, do not enter this area, do not fight because you'll hurt like innocent children, like you're too strong, you'll take out all these kind of things. And then Bluebird's little brother has like an idea when he kind of like says something like, oh, there's just 12 of them or something, and he basically like opens all these like portal doors and has all the Cassandra Cain type people all drop into one door. They all spill out in front of Midnighter, and then he just like holds up and he's like let's go, and he takes like all 12 of them at once, and it's just like an absolute badass moment.
Yeah, I feel like I want to look more into this now, just to kind of just why you're saying it there, affected the movie. And you see it's kind of like the boys, like ragtag kind of team. I suppose.
Yeah, let's say it's somewhere between an OP Justice League and the boys. That's kind of what they are.
It could be worth looking at.
Yeah, I might look into it. I might do that. Well, that's the end of the slides anyway. There's quite a lot of books we covered there. I was hoping to do this in under 2 hours. We're 2 hours 49 minutes. But again, there was like 54 books or something to cover. Some are covered more than others.
It's a lot.
Quite a lot we seem to be interested in, which is worrying for our wallets because there was quite a lot of books through that. Oh, we'll have that, and stay.
About half of them, I will be selling the trades to buy the omnibus. So
At least
I'll have
that's
the
fun,
space.
yeah. So it's not a massive hit, I suppose.
I'm going for a remortgage.
Adam is asking a question. Do you guys have a top 3 of what you're most excited to pick up? To be honest, we should have kept the tally, and we didn't do our homework to that extent. Unless you could rank 3 off the top of your head now.
I mean, I'd easily say Supergirl and Red Lanterns.
Yeah, you had them too.
Yeah, Supergirl, Green Arrow, and off the top of my Red Lanterns as well. That's one I'll be. Oh no, Wonder Woman by Rucker.
Yeah, Wonder Woman by
3 for
Rucker
me.
for myself. Absolute Red Sun, Death of Superman. But if I had to sneak another one in there, maybe the Justice League like Snyder on it, because again I want to kind of have a dive into the Snyder stuff, the death metal and the metal stuff again. So that's
I'd maybe
4.
put the Sinestro one in there for me because I don't plan on picking up the 3 massive omnibuses, so I might just pick it up myself.
Yeah.
Can I not say my top 10? Because saying top 3 is a little bit hard to condense it to.
Hard.
I mean, you're seeing the top. It's not, like everything else could be like 99%.
Yeah, like Supergirl, when I could get it, Batman War Games, I'll grab it.
Oh yeah, I forgot about War Games. War Games would probably go above Sinestro.
Yeah, but there's quite a lot there. And this is just DC, and I think the latest, I could be completely wrong, but I think this is only solicited up to July next year, the first half of the year. So if we get something similar amount in the second half of the year, we are screwed.
Is what you might find though is they may scatter some of these out a little bit through the year. So it wouldn't surprise me if this would be it for next year. It's a lot.
This is going to be I know what you mean. This is going to be my question. Do we think realistically it's like 54 books from DC? And I was talking. There was one trade paperback, that was the one you mentioned about the Robin Lives one, but they're all deluxes, absolute or omnibuses. Are we likely to get them? I don't think we will.
We've seen Marvel.
Normally you get a chunk around April and a chunk around November, December time, but I don't know if it'll be quite that big.
Do you remember Marvel doing this before though? They hit us with loads of announcements. Yeah, they hit loads of announcements, and then they realized they overpopulated the catalog, so they just shunted everything back a few months and then just drip fed them through. I think you might find this with this. If they greenlight every single one of these books, I think this could drag out towards December next year. But
and
still,
that's what I'm saying. It's worth noting and say they're not official DC solicits yet. Because
there's also quite a mix of like absolute current stuff and really old stuff. So like there's going to be different audiences.
Yeah. Plus, like that Night Terrors one, I've never heard a single person speak well of that event. So, like, say you guys aren't sold on the book from when I was describing it. You guys aren't going to buy it as a cheap, so no one's going to pre-order that book. Therefore, they're not going to print it, in my opinion.
And you got to think as well. We're not counting any of the trade paperbacks that are being released for current runs. We're not taking into account the epic line of DC Finest that they're coming out, because they've done that till January, February. We're going to be getting more from that.
The standard hardcovers that come out.
Yeah, and then they're also doing what's called DC compact sizes now, which is basically smaller manga type books, and they're pumping them out as well. I think just DC are going all out.
Yeah, Image started that with Invincible. That was a good move.
So
there's a lot coming out, a hell of a lot coming out. So
Andy is out of the omnibus game, but always fun to see all the announcements. I'm gonna be up for you guys doing these roundups more often if time allows it.
DC also has manga that's published not by DC.
Yeah, they've got a few come out now. Batman and Joker ones recently. Yeah, I've seen them. And Steve and I wouldn't be surprised if we get more books too. DC likes to sneak books in the solicitations as well.
They do, yeah.
It's just mad that we for years we kind of crap over DC a little bit for not releasing stuff. Like you mentioned, there's gaps in your collections and trades you can't get, and now we're going to get them. And
I think there's also, it depends on the audience though, because I think like, although I'd say that for me, like Red Lanterns is one of the biggest things. Like if you never read that in New 52 and you just missed it, like you're probably not going to buy it. now, unless you hear from people like me being like, it's really good.
Yeah,
So,
but
like,
even then, like I would want to read the Green Lantern stuff first. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
but you
whatever
don't have to. It's completely.
I don't know, but I'm
you know,
just saying, like, I feel like for myself personally, I haven't read much Green Lantern, so I would want to start there in terms of like getting to know the Green Lantern before I get to know the Red Lantern. You know,
Build your knowledge a little bit.
Yeah, but I'd almost say that that's the more complicated way to do it, because when you read the Green Lantern run, you learn about all of the cores. When you read the Red Lantern run, you just read about red and some green. So it's actually a simpler run to read the red run than it is to read the longer green run.
But then
Is
also
the one with the cat. Is that a red one?
Yeah.
Like, it's a blue cat.
Yeah.
There's a
Dexter.
Dexter, yeah.
That's the one. Yeah, I can't think of it.
Yeah. Oh, the Red Lantern team is awesome. Like,
Adam was also excited for Red Lanterns. I was aware of most of this listed, but somehow I must have missed that one. I think it was just today that came out.
Yeah, today, literally, I think Ali posted them up. This is why I
it's
grabbed
one of
them.
the later ones that popped up. Yeah.
So I had a bunch
and Wonder
yesterday, the
Woman.
day before, but that one was only this morning. It kind of came out. So, and what was the other one? The Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman by
Rucka was
Rucka.
today.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully that I think we prepared hauls, but I think we'll cut it now to get under the 3 hours. Unless you could do it in under 4 minutes. What do you reckon? Could you do a haul?
I mean, I haven't really bought
Quick.
much, so I've only got 1 or 2 things.
Go ahead, Martin. See if we could do this in under 4 minutes.
We'll go quick. Right, I picked up trade lately. New Flash run. I didn't like the standard cover, so I went for the DM of the Dan Mora cover because I feel like the standard cover looks like Flash has got turkey teeth. And
I
I
was
can't
going to
have
buy the
that.
Dan Mora cover.
Yeah, Dan Mora cover's the
Is
best
that
one.
No.
No.
Similar though, isn't it?
Similar. This is the first issue, one of the variants for issue 1. I also picked up Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow.
I love that. Yeah.
Was a must. This is one that I don't think anybody's posted yet, because I don't think anyone's realised it's come out. If anyone's actually getting them.
Number 3.
Simpsons Treehouse of Horror, Volume 3.
Yeah.
No, I read the first one.
So if anyone hasn't got this, if anyone hasn't got it, Sci-Fi.
No, they had a third one out though.
Use code Airwaves, 5% off.
Oh, I should have this banner. Please tell me.
Shameless plug there.
Here you go. I should have it the whole time. Use our code airwaves at sci-fi.com, and remember to use your points at the end of this month. It ends.
Yes, end of August. Get them in there. And my last book I got was Spawn Origins Volume 2. I love Spawn. I'm trying to collect them all in this deluxe format as opposed to the big absolutes. And Image are doing stealth reprints. So I managed to nab number 2. So I'm slowly filling the gaps. That's my whole.
And indeed, do you have much?
I said only about the 2 books really, because I've been getting rid of stuff more than buying stuff. So this is Godkiller Spiderland finally came in. It's the 3rd Godkiller book. They're basically 3-issue sort of short runs, and it's very adult. There's basically a kid that gets kind of captured, and there's this somewhat sort of prostitute robot type thing that helps him out, and then they escape, and there's the whole world's kind of like weird, and the art's very different, and it was really something that just really stood out to me. So I had that on pre-order for over a year, along with the 4th one, and hopefully the 4th one's going to come out soon, and that kind of completes the whole thing. And then just this single issue because it's awesome.
Yeah,
Staggy with the turtles.
Yeah, very cool.
I've seen one of those as well at the minute. Is it Turtles, TMNT, and Naruto? How you say
Naruto. Naruto.
With same film.
I know Scott's kind of big into that at the minute. So he's
U is U in Japanese, so it's Naruto.
Naruto.
Like it's technically Usagi, if you say it properly.
Usagi.
Oh.
I'll show off what I've got, and it's a few weeks ago. I haven't actually bought that much this month. I think this came at the start of July, and that's the Daredevil by Chip Zdarsky and Marco Cicchetto. I read this in single issues, and I wasn't going to buy this, and then Martin put the link up for Scott to buy it cheap on books, etc. And I was like,
oh well, I'll
just get it. I know
sorry,
complete my collection, and then to complete another collection. Or continue one, Batman and Robin Adventures.
Yes.
That's all the animated stuff. I don't think is it Paul Dini is on the art, isn't it? It is Paul Dini
Yeah.
stuff, isn't it? Okay.
believe
Yeah,
so,
it's all
yeah.
the same stuff, mate.
Wasn't certain if it was like someone else like imitating this kind of style or that, but yeah, so that's it. And then I showed earlier on from Andy J. Clark on Instagram his Flux. Now I haven't read this yet. I skimmed through it. It's very adult. There's a lot of nudity,
Oh, that's not a problem.
like fight scene nudities and stuff. It's just a bit. So if you're ever going to read this, don't read it around children. But yeah, that's all I've pretty much picked up this month. Next month will be different, and hopefully next month we will actually find out what all the Omnifuss is about. But we tried this month. We tried our best. Thanks everyone for joining in live. Thanks everyone who was on the replay. Use our code airwaves on sci-fi.com. Follow us on Instagram to get links to our Discord. It's very small at the moment, which is good. There's not loads of notifications, but all the ones in the chat are genuinely in there with us. So yeah, thanks very much. See you next time. See you.
Laters.
Right.